Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Anman, your host for the next few hours, along with Mike.
Good morning.
Morning. Spence is here.
Hello.
And Bruce is here.
I indeed am.
Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. And today is January 19th, 2014. Today's show is being brought to you by that VidBlaster guy, Tom Sinclair. And I want to welcome everybody that's in the chat and everybody on Blog Talk Radio and TalkShoe, if they're listening. Feel free to call in and participate. Hey, Mike, we don't need to let the people on Blog Talk Radio know what's the phone number on Blog Talk Radio to call in, right?
Correct.
They see it. Okay.
And then, Mon, you need to check your audio feed level to Skype. We can't hear you.
Not again.
Yeah, very low. Oh, look at that. There we go, the transporter.
All right. Is it any better now?
No, just watch it and see. Maybe it'll clear it.
All right. Well, I can always raise it from here, and then you tell me when to lower it. Is it better now?
Okay. No, just let it ride.
Okay. So, Spence, haven't heard from you all week. What's going on?
Oh, I've just been working. I worked 6 days this week.
Is that how retirement's going?
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Now, it was a busy week. Working on a renovation project as well as other things I can fit in around it. But I was there yesterday for 6 hours. I've worked at this one house at least 8 hours every day. So it's been busy. It's good. It's almost done. The good news is that the bulk of the work is done. Painters are in there on Monday, and all the plumbing is done. The electrician finished yesterday, upgrading the service and making a new. What this is a house that's got. It's built in the early 1960s, and had a basement apartment that was built probably in the late 60s, and they're trying to separate it into two separate units. It does have its own entrance, but it needed to be upgraded. And a separate laundry area built upstairs so they could divide it. And so literally tore this bathroom apart, built a new bathroom downstairs where there was you couldn't even call it a bathroom. It was just very primitive. And made it into a nice little apartment.
How primitive was it? I mean, I'm thinking outhouse primitive.
Well, there was a toilet and a sink in a cinder block room. So it wasn't actually the room that was in was a fallout shelter that was built in the 60s. I was trying to figure out why does this room was built out of a very dense cement block, not cinder blocks, but cement blocks.
Oh, I like it.
And then the ceiling was covered with 2 courses of these cement blocks on top of plywood. What is this all about? So finally just thought about it for a while, and it's not a bomb shelter. Obviously, it wouldn't withstand a bombing because it wasn't in the ground, but it was a fallout shelter. Cement is what would block gamma radiation from a nuclear blast. So, and they had a separate water supply that was a well that was inside the same, like a crawl space area inside this protected area. They had a well tank and a pump, so they had a way to get to uncontaminated water. It's interesting.
I have a confession to make. My wife and I, and I guess the confession is for me, but we really enjoy watching some of these renovation shows on the HGTV network.
We watch them all the time. That's really about the only TV I watch. I go in the great room, and my wife and daughter are just addicted to that stuff.
Yeah, some of them are pretty good. I like the more technical and the more actual work they do, the better. What's that one, Love It or List It?
Oh yeah.
Not a big fan of that one. But,
No.
But
other ones where they actually go in, it's more of a technical show.
But you know something? They always, I mean, if you are not handy, they always make it look like it's a lot easier than what it really is. I mean, here, there.
Editing.
What?
It's called editing.
Well, I know.
They edit out. They
It's,
edit it
you
out.
know,
They make it.
You know, you go and, okay, yeah, just break down this wall. I mean, every time you break down a wall, there's electrical outlets to take care of. There's a lot of things that you need to consider. But here, they just say, boom, that's it. They don't show you all the work that was done before or during. And people
Well, you know
think...
what frustrates me about them is they don't tell you the money. I mean, you sit there.
Yeah.
We were watching last night, in fact, a show. Let me think. Property Virgins.
Yeah, we like that too.
And I'm sitting here now. This lady, this diva, single mother, 2 kids, living in a rented $500,000 house, is looking for her dream home, 4,000 square feet, for $300,000.
We might find that in a really depressed area of some really depressed state.
I don't
Right.
remember where she was. I think it was Atlanta.
You could have found
Oh,
something
no-
like that
no
in Austin
way.
a couple of years ago.
No way with that budget.
Well, in fact, I think the whole series of shows was from Atlanta. Now, you know, I've been around a long time like you guys have, and if you're in a rental house, there's a good chance you don't have a whole lot of money saved up for a down payment, meaning that you're very probably going to have to finance a good portion of that purchase. If you go out and buy a $350,000, $400,000 home, you're going to have a steep monthly payment. If you're going to have a steep monthly payment, you'd better have a good job. I mean, so my question is, and she may have all that. She may be perfectly positioned to be able to do everything. It may be, but they got to the end of the show and they said, well, she just couldn't find anything she liked. And so that they ended the show with her not getting a new home. And I'm just saying, what's going on here? There's more to there's a backstory here that's not being told. They did all this. I believe the financing fell through because she found one she liked and then changed her mind at the last minute. But and all that happens. That's real life. I don't have any problem with that. I've seen that happen to lots of people along the way. But my point is that just remember, it's a TV show. It's a reality TV show. Many of these shows are 100% fake. Many of them are very fake, and some of them take some very serious deviations from the truth along the way. So I don't know. All I'm saying is you have to take them with a grain of salt.
And to Amnon's point about it always looks so easy, you got to look at who sponsors the shows too. A lot of times it's Home Depot or other companies that are selling you on the idea of doing this work. So yourself. So they don't want it to look hard. They want it to look like, oh yeah, no problem. Come on in, we'll help you. It's a breeze. You just go through this. My favorite one is Holmes out of Canada, because he actually has a charitable foundation.
Is he still on?
Yeah, he's got a new version of the show. It's called Holmes Rescue or something like that. Homes on Homes is they ended that production a number of years ago and started a different show. And he also he's got like a training foundation, and he's got a foundation that goes and tries to educate inspectors and municipalities, and he works out of Canada, obviously. I know he has done some stuff in the U.S., but Mike, your point before about the budget numbers, you watch these shows based in Canada, and you see this couple that looks like a relatively modest, one child, they have 2 incomes, but their budget for the house is $600,000.
Oh, look at what they do in D.C. and New York. Toronto, those are 3 of the places where they do exactly that. And say, yeah, or even they had one in California, and they're out there looking at this shack for $550,000.
Yep.
And salaries are what they are. The higher tech areas tend to have higher salaries, but the reality is they're not that disproportionate. That house that we saw, and I didn't watch much of it last night. In fact, we turned it off because we didn't care for it. But the house they were looking at in our community would probably be $125,000, $130,000. And what I'm saying is that markets are what they are. It's location, location, location. I understand that. But what I'm getting at is that as far as I know, the salaries are not as disproportionate as the real estate prices. If you live in these high price markets, your budget number balancing is different than it is here. You're going to be spending a lot more for housing and insurance and things than you are here.
Yeah, I mean, you probably look at the Dave Ramsey rule of thumb about, what is it, 25% for housing?
25 you take home, but even he throws that out in for example, Sonoma.
Yeah.
But he says, but don't go over, I believe he said 33%, but he said in some places, he said, you got to do 50. But he said, what that means is that your budgeting is going to be tighter than anyone else's. I mean, it's, you've got to budget for that. And if you don't stick to it, you're going to get into trouble. But in that regard, I don't know what this has got to do with computers, but in that regard, and again, I don't watch much TV, but this one, they were doing this series yesterday on all day, and they had this lady on there. I'd never seen her before. Her name is Egypt, Egypt, like the country. I don't know her last name. And during about 3 shows that we watched, she said 4 of the most commonsensical things that I have ever heard a real estate agent say on TV. Now, I don't know if it's for the TV or whether that's really who she is. If I were in the Atlanta market, I'd go look her up. I would use her. I don't remember what all 4 were, but my daughter and I were sitting there watching. She's going to hopefully be a new homeowner in the next 3 years. God help the economy. And one of the first things she said was that this couple was looking at a home that had been flooded. In fact, the whole neighborhood had been flooded. The homes were going really, really cheap. They had all been renovated. They went through the whole thing, and finally the lady looking at the home, the asker said, I just can't get over the idea that this home was flooded. And I'm trying to reconcile my thought process with that. Real estate agent said to her, you know what? This is not the home for you. You're a first-time homeowner. You don't need to be sweating every time it rains, wondering whether your first home is going to get flooded. Let's go look at something else.
It makes sense.
I said, that's the kind of agent you trust. Mm-hmm. She said to another couple later on, it may have been a different show, you know what? Yes, you're looking out of your budget. This is more money in your budget. And I know it's not that much more, but let me caution you. Don't stretch your budget too far. You're going to end up house rich, cash poor, and you're going to be sorry. When have you ever heard an agent telling them not to shoot higher than their particular budget?
That formula show called Love It or List It.
Yep.
Every time they show them a house, it's always, this is more than your budget. It's a little bit more, $40,000, $60,000, $100,000 more every show.
A little bit.
Yeah. And that's what makes it lose credibility with me. No, it's scripted.
Well, if you get another $40,000 house, that's another $2,800 commission, right?
Commission, yeah, that's right.
Oh, well.
So what's happening with computers this week?
Nothing. We're going to talk about shop tools.
Did you see there was a story? This is really related to technology in general, but somebody did an article in the Silicon Valley. I'm trying to figure out what paper it is here, but the point is that they said that there's what are the characteristics of successful business starters and CEOs, right? They said, well, one characteristic is resilience, another characteristic is the ability to accept risk. And they said another characteristic many top entrepreneurs share is arrogance, or worse, being a huge jerk. And you could just name them. Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs. You just go down the list of all these top technology people, and you find out, they're just jerks.
I know Mike has a real passion for diabetes and stuff like that and research. And my wife is, we were talking before the show, is a type 1 diabetic on insulin pump. It was interesting, nonetheless, to see Google's announcement about working on this contact lens that somehow will be able to, if it all works out, to detect your blood sugar via the tears in your eye. That's pretty amazing. Of course, this is probably a long ways off, but it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think it's the precursor. They're trying to basically build a Google Glass that will sit on your eyeball. Very interesting.
Talking about diabetes, I put a link in the chat. This is Charles Ray Diabetes Association, which I'm on the board. And Charles's association provides free or reduced, if you have some money, supplies for diabetics, test strips, whatever it takes. And he gave away a lot of pumps, too. He's trying to get a grant, and he would appreciate if people will vote for him. So if you go to the site, cr3diabetes.org, and just vote. You can vote once a day.
From all your IP addresses.
That would be nice. The what?
Once a day from each of your IP addresses.
Yeah. But it's worthwhile doing. I mean, I've known Charles now since about 95, 96 when he started, and he was doing the whole thing from his spare bedroom, and how he struggled, and now he's got a little office somewhere, and they're getting more and more people, and he does it with people all over. It's not the local to local, it's local to national. But that's what I was gonna.
I tweeted that to multiple accounts yesterday. And this little twit moron attacked me on Twitter for spamming multiple Twitter accounts.
Yeah, he shouldn't.
He's a little punk.
So, what? Somebody was going to say something?
I was just going to comment on Dan Ortega's comment in the chat. He says, back when I was deciding which cloud service to use, I purchased the Live Suite, and it included SkyDrive, Skype, and Office. And it turned out the only thing I really used is Microsoft Word, which I already had anyway. One of the things that I found out, because just one of the things that you can do, and I learned about this on a Chromebook community. If you have a Windows Live account, you can go to skydrive.live.com and sign in with your Windows Live account. And this is free, and you can create Word documents, you can create Excel spreadsheets, and you can do PowerPoint. If you've never done that before and you have a Windows Live account, of course, if you have a newer PC, you're running Windows 8, 8.1, you normally would log in with your Live account. But if you go to skydrive.live.com and log in, you can click Create, and you can do a Word doc, Excel, and everything right from there. So, and that's free. I'm not sure how many people are aware of this. But.
Well, I'm logging into it as we speak. This is your cloud storage. This is your cloud storage on steroids. Outlook, People, Calendar, SkyDrive. Outlook.com, People, Calendar. I don't see. You said word processing here?
Well, no, you probably did. Click on SkyDrive on the upper left-hand corner.
Yep. Documents.
Okay.
Click Create. Okay. There we go. Word document. There you go.
Yep. Click on that, and you'll see. I mean, it looks just like Word.
Word web app. There you go.
So
this is just an answer to Google Docs, right?
Oh yeah, it's got to be. And and depending on what you need, if you really need some functionality of Word, there's a way to do it. If Google Docs does all you need to do, you can do that.
This is a good tip, Bruce. This is really good because there's sometimes Google Docs don't get it.
Right.
How much is it?
How much is what?
The service.
It's
Free.
free.
Put a link in the chat.
skydrive.live.com. All you have to have one of their. I get confused over what Microsoft calls their accounts. Live.com. It used to a Hotmail account will work. An Outlook.com account will work. Apparently, all of these Microsoft accounts apparently are tied together under the same authentication server.
If you are a Windows 8 user, you have to have already created that account. So
Right.
you're
What does that
already
mean?
there to use that account. What you log into when
I
you
see.
log into your Windows 8 machine, that's the same.
Yeah, you have to have a live account to get into Windows
Oh.
8.
Yep.
Amnon, when we got those copies of Windows 8, that didn't come with installation media, did it?
I got some afterwards that did, and
But can't we get the ISO to install Windows 8 anyway?
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yeah.
I'm
Gene
going to
is
try installing it on a computer in the next month or two.
sure. Gene is asking why is the audio is breaking up on him. Gene, what about the video? Is the video not breaking up?
It looked like crap on.
I'll bet you that it's because of Bamboozer, and if you just click on Daily Motion. The other day we were trying Vaughn, and Vaughn was messed up. So you can this is why all those links are underneath the video. These are different links to the same feed, but from
I don't even run it during the show anymore.
what?
I don't even run the video during the show anymore. I watch the chat.
Well,
but
that's
I do not
okay.
watch
That's
the
you.
Yeah,
but
'cause
I mean,
it's like 20% of my CPU just to watch the
Yep.
show.
yeah.
So,
Thank you, Flash.
Well, but you can do that, Gene. So
I clicked on
Do
Justin
that.
and the others, and they weren't even streaming.
what do you mean?
They wouldn't come up.
Yes,
But you
they
know
are.
what? That brings up another
They're
point.
co-
I'm
they are-
having a lot of trouble with Chrome.
They're working.
Not just me, but some friends that I help with their computers in their little small office.
Yeah.
They would go to a website, click on a PDF, it brings up a blank page. You hit refresh, nothing, refresh, boom, there's the PDF document. Go into Firefox or Internet Explorer, it comes up immediately the first time. And on two different computers. I've seen it actually on 3 computers now.
I have noticed Chrome being a little wonky.
It's taking time to come up on. Oh, there it is. Yeah. No, it's working on Justin too. But anyway, so okay. So Gene says that it worked when he switched CDNs, and he's using Firefox.
You guys remember
Why
uh,
why can't Nick call into
Skype?
Computers 2K Voice? It is up, isn't it? Wait, let me see.
Doesn't ring.
I don't see why not,
Did you-
Nick.
Did you pay your bill?
He's
Let me
had some
see
troubles
if I
with this.
see him. I see
on
him.
more than one occasion.
I'm going to call you, Nick.
But you guys remember I was complaining and lamenting over this USB flash drive that I was asked to try to recover the data from because a pin had broken off?
Yes.
Yeah, got it to work.
How?
And I was wearing my jeweler's headset and a magnifying glass. I was able to scratch the masking
Insulation.
off of very tiny bit of the LAN pattern that was on the board itself. And with that, I dropped a blob of solder on it. And as soon as I did that, the drive started to flash and it ran. I caught it in a vise so nothing would move. And I was able to download so close to 10 gig worth of stuff and recover it, and it worked. So,
Well,
yeah, it
aren't
wasn't
you a
quite
lucky camper?
wasn't quite as intimidating or daunting as I had first thought. But still, I mean, it will never work again.
Also, Amnon, on your Skype account, go to Tools Options Sounds, and make sure that you have the sounds enabled such that you're able to hear him ringing in.
No, the issue wasn't. Mike, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Didn't you just hear when I called him?
No.
Yeah. The issue is not it not ringing. The issue. So I click call on computer's 2K voice. It makes its little dial tone sound.
Right.
And then after about 10 seconds, it says, "Would you like to leave a video message?"
It's just like it's not answering.
It's like it's not connecting to you. And the same thing
You mean
happened 2 weeks
Skype is
ago.
not absolutely reliable?
I don't know if it's just me though. I restarted Skype twice,
Probably.
and that didn't do
Probably
anything
you.
either.
It's not absolutely reliable, but it's absolutely predictable.
I wish that were true.
It took a long time before it took a long time of how the dots go up and down when you call
Before
somebody.
it started ringing.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine never started ringing. It just asked if I'd like to leave a video message.
Good morning, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Good morning, Nick.
How's your snow?
Lovely. Just lovely.
How much snow
It's-
did you get?
I don't know, 3-4 inches, I think. But it's
3 or
been
4 inches
snowing
would shut
nonstop.
down North Carolina.
But it's been snowing since yesterday afternoon. It was supposed to snow. We're supposed to get like an inch of snow. It hasn't stopped.
Oh, maybe you're all going to die. I mean, let's think about this. If it hasn't stopped snowing, what if it never stops snowing?
It'll be a winter wonderland. I'll never have school again.
Oh,
Do you
oh no.
do you remember the episode of The Twilight Zone about where this family is it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter because the Earth's orbit shifted closer to the sun,
No.
and it's just getting hotter and hotter, and water's gone, and people are starving and all that, and then next thing you know, the person wakes up and it's a dream. And what's really happening is the Earth moved further away from the sun, and it was very cold.
Mm.
It was kind of ironic.
Yeah, they probably won't show that one anymore.
No,
Don't you mean global warming?
I saw a post on a website. If anybody doesn't use, and the application is called Zite, Z-I-T-E. It's a great aggregator for iPhone. I think it's for Android also. But the nice part about it is it's a great format for a small device. So if you're killing time in an airport or just want to be able to scan through your favorite topics of whatever, it's not just technology topics. It's anything that you can create a channel for. Because I do have in there global warming, and there was an article about how one person claimed that this chart shows all of the scientific skeptics who don't believe in global warming compared to the ones that do. And out of like 9,000, only one disputed it. And it's like, that is total crap. Because
Yeah.
I know that there have been peer-reviewed papers by
Oh, yeah.
hundreds, if not thousands, of scientists now who are coming forward and saying, nope, not
Out of a
what we
sample
thought.
size that large, there'd be more than that who completely misunderstood the question.
Yeah, so it's weird how you could just put your article out there and the same way you say, well, you can't challenge me, you can't debate me. This is the fact. Well, no, sorry, not a fact.
Huh. By the way, Mike, how's my audio now?
Good.
Great.
Okay, I put it back down. So, all right. Did everybody have their coffee?
Yes.
Twice.
I'm having juice.
Well, you're going to have a problem.
This is day 5.
A team of researchers at Johns Hopkins has published results demonstrating that caffeine seems to boost long-term memory. In a double-blind study, participants are shown a series of images soon after taking either a caffeine pill or a placebo. 24 hours later, they were tested on a similar but not identical series of images. Those who took the caffeine pill were more likely to correctly classify images as being different, identical, or similar to those seen in the previous days. So, caffeine is good for you.
Well, it's a stimulant.
In moderation.
And, huh?
It's good in moderation.
Well, unfortunately, as I learned by hearing people talk about it, in I can't say most, but in at least some colleges with which I'm familiar,
Yeah.
these students have convinced themselves that they have to take Ritalin to study for exams
Well,
because the kids taking it are getting better grades.
That's just stupidity, though.
yeah.
The fact is they are getting better grades.
Oh.
Really?
Yes. Because their brains, for this very same reason, they're stimulating their brains. They're putting their brains on
Steroids.
On steroids, yeah. And the problem is that it's not sustainable. I guess you go out and get a job in the real world.
I
and you
wonder,
quit taking
you know,
it.
they're not talking about what is compared to, you know, one pill, caffeine pill. Is that like a cup of coffee? Is that like 10 cups of coffee? Is that, you know, there's no information here how much caffeine was involved.
Dr. John has a good point. Maybe we can get Monsanto to make an orange with caffeine in it. Don't say Monsanto. Gary will come in.
Don't they make carpet?
With caffeine- with caffeine.
Yeah, they make carpet with caffeine in it. You could walk on it with bare feet and you get caffeine.
No, you put it in your house, and within a day or two, after it's installed, you'll have caffeine in it.
That's it.
So you'll have genetically modified carpet, GMC.
Yes.
Mike, here's something up your alley, too. Nintendo has acquired the entire patent portfolio of now-defunct IA Labs following its victory in court. The Japanese game giant has announced Nintendo...
Wait, hold on. What company?
IA Labs.
No, what was the first company?
Oh, Nintendo.
Are you talking about the game company?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo. Okay.
That's a
Sorry,
different company.
I was confused. I had no clue what company you were talking about.
Nintendo obtained the patents during a sheriff's sale in Montgomery County, Maryland, on Tuesday. IA Labs originally sued Nintendo for patent infringements in 2010, claiming the Mario Maker's Wii controller and Wii Fit technology infringed on two separate IA Labs patents. Nintendo successfully defended itself as part of a court battle in 2012, also winning various fees related to the case. IA Labs appealed the ruling, but an appellate court sided with Nintendo in June 2013. At this point, IA Labs was ordered to pay Nintendo additional fees, and when the company failed to do so, the sheriff's sale was commenced. What is that sheriff's sale?
It's when the sheriff is ultimately responsible for when a property goes from foreclosure or things like that. When the court orders the assets to be liquidated, the sheriff oversees the process.
It's
So-
execution on the judgment.
Yeah, he's the guy that
So,
administers it.
entire patent portfolio of that company?
It went on the auction block.
How does somebody put a value on well, I'm assuming that they had a bunch of other patents right there when the sheriff does it.
What's
Well,
the
the
selling price
auction-
on an auction item on eBay?
No, they don't do what? Well, that's you start it, or you say, you know, I want
Exactly.
that much for it, or
They could have paid $1 a piece for them. I don't know what the price
Jeez.
was.
That's why it's an
here's-
auction.
And you know what this? I mean, and I'm thinking as somebody who is not into it. If the court already sided with Nintendo, and that IA Labs was really did not have a case, why would they appeal it and go into further trouble?
Because something like 50% of all cases are overturned on appeal.
Oh,
They
Okay.
had convincing lawyers too.
Okay.
What would you do? Certain death or possible death?
Well, I don't know that it would be a certain death because they said that on the second when they appealed it, they got punished even farther, and that's what got them. That's what finally did it. That's
the way that cookie crumbles. I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody sues you, gets a judgment against you for $100 million,
yeah.
what do you have to lose to appeal it and have
Right.
a chance maybe of getting it thrown out?
Yeah, that's true.
What you're at risk of is the legal fees. So your legal fees are going to be $1 million. Are you willing to gamble $1 million to save the company? Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Good point. Good point. And talking
Or
about
in your case, you just pay the $100 million and don't do it again.
there was another. Here. It is really tough time to be a patent owner, said Sovereign Software LLC. President Catherine Walanik, after the Supreme Court refused to hear their appeal after the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit invalidated 3 of Sovereign's shopping cart patents. Sovereign had sued Newegg for allegedly infringing the patents in question and had won in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Texas. Newegg later had the decision overturned on appeal. There you go.
See, there you go.
With the court ruling that the patents in question were obvious and thus invalid. What does it mean that the patents in questions were obvious?
That is one of the 2 legal standards for obtaining a patent. Your invention has to be novel and non-obvious. And obviousness is under Section 103 of the Patent Statute. It's a very, very difficult standard to understand and even harder for courts to apply. The plain language definition is that if the average person of ordinary skill in the art would have been able to look at this and say, oh, that's obvious, then you can't patent it.
Interesting.
So, I mean, that's the kiss of death to say it's not novel or it's obvious. That's to mean it does not qualify for patent protection. And every time you see a lawsuit for infringement, almost every time, everyone I've ever seen, will include a counterclaim for declaring the patent invalid as being obvious or non-novel. Because if the patent's invalid, you can't get a judgment for infringement.
So, I mean, just as an argument, you can say that if somebody was trying to get a patent for a round wheel, that's obvious. It's round, it's a wheel.
Well, unless it's Apple.
Is that it?
No, Apple owns the wheel, but yeah, I mean and in that case where Apple argued rounded corners on their iPhone, Samsung says, "Are you kidding me? Look at all these cases of where there have been rounded corners. This doesn't qualify for infringement. That's prior art. If there's prior art, then you didn't invent it. If you didn't invent it, you can't sue for infringement. You have to invalidate the patent. The patent is presumed valid. You have to argue. You have the burden of proof to prove that the patent is not valid. You can't just say, oh, it's not valid and expect the court to do your work for you. You have to go to the court and prove that it's not valid based on prior art, based on obviousness, based on multiple standards.
Okay.
Of course, you know, the big news now is that starting February 1st, Amazon is going to be charging sales tax to people in North Carolina.
Really?
Yep.
Why? They have...
They're opening a distribution center?
No idea. They're not. They haven't. They won't say.
Welcome to the club.
Yep.
You know, there was a big tech story this week that linked home improvement, since we were talking about that early with tech, and that is Google dropping $3.2 billion on the company Nest that makes these home automation thermostats.
Very expensive home automation thermostats.
Absolutely. And there's a couple stories. TechRadar.com has had a couple stories on this, and one of them was suggesting, oh, you're going to have a Google Plus account to install one in your house. And the other one, really probably the more significant reason, is this just gives away a first-class ticket for Google to get into your home. That's something it's been trying unsuccessfully to do for years. So,
let me tell you how Google can get into my home. They can come to Cary and put in 1 gigabit internet,
and you'll give them a key to the house, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Did you know they've got 1 gigabit service in Wilson, North Carolina?
They went
$150 a month, symmetrical, 1 gigabit.
Yep, that's green light.
It's now illegal in North Carolina for a municipality to do what they did. That is, we're screwed.
Hello, Time Warner.
Well, they care.
I want to go back to the comment you made about Amazon. Does that mean that we can start doing affiliates?
Yeah, probably.
Possibly. I don't know that. They haven't said yet.
Well, that was the whole reason why we couldn't, because Amazon refused to collect tax for North Carolina.
Right, but the who knows at this point? I mean, look, this is the same thing I was griping about last week. These companies, the Googles, the Amazons, they're so big. The little issues that interest us, they're not going to bother with them. If it's good for them, they're going to do it. If it's not, they won't even answer your question.
Oh. Morning, Andrew.
And Asus Transformer. I don't know anything about that. Anybody here know anything about it?
Yeah, it's a tablet.
It's a tablet, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean the transformer that reduces the wall voltage to charge it?
Donovan says, what about the one where potential investors snapped up the wrong company stock? NEST is Nestor Inc. and not Nest the company. Nestor's stock shot up 1,900%. Somebody made some money there.
Wow.
Andrew probably did that. He probably went on GFQ and started saying, go buy Nest, Nest, buy Nest, buy Nest. And then he sold. Yep.
Yeah.
919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype.
He's one of those millisecond stock manipulators.
Well, he does buy some stocks, some penny stocks, and these things go up a fraction of a cent, and it translates into about a 50% gain on your money.
Yep.
Well,
if you know when to sell it.
This morning,
well, you just need to be buying more than one share like he does.
This morning when I was getting dressed and watching Fox and Friends, they had 2 kids, in their 20s, that are self-made millionaires by playing the stock market the right way. And one of them is willing to teach anybody how to do that for nothing.
So you can make your money that way, or you can be a 17-year-old Russian kid who developed this spyware that he sold to a bunch of people that did the Target and Neiman Marcus and who knows however many other companies hacks.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe this Russian spyware thing.
Why?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
That's where most of them come out of.
Why doesn't it make any sense to you? I mean, if you get a really super
elaborate.
I don't understand what this kid would have to gain for selling it to people. Like, why would he? I understand that, but why would he have developed this tool and not use it himself? Why would you develop a tool where you could take over credit card numbers from anywhere and sell it to somebody? Why would you not use that for your own
Nick, a
game?
lot of people...
I see what Nick is saying. That story is fishy.
Doesn't make any sense.
First of
less
all,
criminal liability for himself.
It's not,
let somebody else do the dirty work.
Why would we even know who he is? Now he's exposed.
It's not fishy at all. A kid or one person who does this, who knows how to write code and do it, has no knowledge how to go and actually make money from getting those.
No, that doesn't make.
No,
if you have the ability,
it doesn't take long to learn.
If you have the availability to learn how to make some software that will compromise credit card information, you can't tell me that you can't learn how to install it somewhere.
And then what do you do with it?
No, but
take everybody's credit card information like they did.
And do
this
what?
is where I agree with what Bruce is saying. Just because you can doesn't mean you will.
Why
And-
wouldn't?
I mean, it's the same. It's the
Well-
same. I mean, you can say the same thing about if you know how to go down to the corner street and buy Coke. Why can't you grow it and produce it and sell it and make a bunch of money?
You
Well,
can.
But here's
Ah.
hang on a second. This argument goes back even to one we had in when I was in college, and one of these stupid elective courses we had to required courses we had to take. And they're saying that just because you can doesn't mean you should. For example, and this was at NC State, that has a nuclear engineering department, and they says, is there any social responsibility to developing a nuclear bomb or the ability to make a nuclear bomb? Just because it can be used for good, it can also be used for bad. Is there any social responsibility? And ultimately they decided, well, there is, but that's not your responsibility, because if we don't do this research, we don't get the funding.
Nick, you're thinking about it like Nick thinks, and you go get him kind of person. When you see
No, I don't-
something, you
I
say,
don't think
okay,
so.
I'm going to do this, and you have a head for business, and you want to make it on your own and all that. It's different. There's a lot of people who say, well, okay, so I did this, but I don't want to get into whatever. I'll sell it and let them take all the risks and all that. They're going to pay me. And that's what happens.
Maybe. It seems very odd.
I would think that he was smart doing it this way. He got his money, and unless he gets really exposed, I mean, the story that the kid did it and sold it doesn't mean that they know who he is.
Well, no, but when it comes out who ended up installing the
Yeah.
malware, when they catch him, they're going to catch the kid. Of course they're going to rat him out.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But at least, I mean, if he did it himself, chances are he would get caught right away.
I have another question, tangentially related. How did these Russian guys get so smart?
Oh, boy. I mean, it's not just now,
They're always
Mike.
stuck inside their house because they can't. It's so
No,
snowy.
Mike, back in 92, when I went back to Israel to be trained to work on these machines that company was selling all over the world, most of the programmers in the company were Russian. A lot of Russians went to Israel, Jewish Russians, Russian Jews. These guys are really, I mean, they're good because of the way that they were trained before the Soviet Union fell apart. They were, I mean, can you imagine taking people and putting them 12 hours a day to do programming? That doesn't happen here.
I know that, but at the same time, I mean, I understand that totally.
Yeah.
But I work with a guy from Russia.
Yeah.
If this guy's IQ is not 160, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he spends a lot of time. He's a workaholic, but I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
He's smart.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. You ever watch Big Bang Theory?
Yeah. So he's
This guy doesn't have the demeanor of Shelton, but he's got the brains.
Yeah. I know that's the way it is. Who knows? Maybe it's
he
the
was
cold.
born
Maybe
with
it's
it.
the
That's
snow.
that was not learned. He
Hey,
had to be born with that.
Maybe vodka.
That's a good point. Let's try it.
We're a little late for that.
We'll have to wait and see what the
Nick, you
IQs
can
do
try
out in
that.
Colorado.
I may have missed this, but I was just doing a little research on this hacker and looking at different websites, and I decided to go to The Verge.
Yeah.
When did The Verge become not just about tech? I mean, it's become almost like Huffington Post now.
Yeah.
You got culture, design, business, U.S. and world, science.
I thought they
Well,
always were like
Bruce,
that.
that's a great question, because isn't this show in certain ways doing the same thing? To some extent, isn't tech getting boring?
How dare you?
Well, think about it. I mean,
Make a really good point.
we go to Windows 8, that's all negative. Windows 8.1, whoop-de-doo.
Mm-hmm.
Windows 9, maybe that'll be a good one. It's coming out, what, next year?
Yeah.
It's
well,
been announced.
Here's how I respond when I see this. The Verge will no longer be my go-to place for tech news. I think they dilute. They try to do too much. They become a jack of all trades, master of none. I'll stick with, NextWeb and GigaOM and other sites like that. It just surprised me. I mean, it's a beautiful looking site. They've got a great website and UI, but it's no longer just about tech. So no, tech's not boring.
It's like Donovan says. I really haven't seen anything innovative in the last year or so, if not longer. And I mean, that's very topic dependent, because there are probably some things out there that are really, really exciting. But in terms of the environments that we're in, I can't think of, and check me on this, I can't think of anything in the last year that has kept me awake at night, excited to get it up and play with it the next day, or to order one, or to read about it.
Yeah.
I mean, even Apple is struggling with iPhones and trying to come up with something exciting, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what is exciting, and that's Spencer's wardrobe change. I really like that sweater, Spence. That's really nice.
Yeah, I got cold. That's what I originally planned to wear, but
Listen, is Andrew still here?
We ought to go inside, Spencer, instead of sitting outside.
well, yeah, it's breezy up on the upper deck here.
A little over a year after Microsoft released Windows 8, and a mere 3 months after it pushed out a major update with Windows 8.1, rumors abound that Windows 9 is already on its way. According to Paul Thurrott, super site for Windows, Microsoft will begin discussing the next version of Windows, codename Threshold, at least for the moment, at April's Build conference. Threshold is more important than any specific updates, he wrote. Windows 8 is tanking harder than Microsoft is comfortable discussing in public. And the latest release, Windows 8.1, which is a substantial and free upgrade with major improvement over the original release, is in use on less than 25 million PCs at the moment. Microsoft intends Threshold to clean up at least a portion of Windows 8's mess. That is very, very interesting. I wonder if they're going to take it.
That's what they said about Windows 8.1, wasn't it?
A what?
That's what they said about Windows 8.1.
Well,
it was going to clean up the mess that Windows 8 made. But think about this just a second, and this is my opinion. If you guys disagree, jump on in here. But I think that Windows 8, based on being Windows 8 and being the only real operating system you can buy on a new computer, has got to have killed the sales of new computers. I mean, it has put a major dent in the computer innovation curve as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you get newer, faster, bigger computers, but it still has Windows 8. So, I mean, if somebody calls me and says, Mike, I need a new computer, and the first thing I say is, don't get Windows 8. Rick's house, Rick is using Windows 8. I log into his computer, set everything up to do the show. I mean, even Skype owned by Microsoft, I complained on Twitter that the Skype desktop client, the same one you installed, Bruce, on Windows 8, does not have the advanced tab at the bottom of the menu. And Skype says, oh, yes, it does. And I said, oh, no, it doesn't. And so they don't even know that they've got a missing function in their client. And it's got to be detecting that it's Windows 8 because it's the same download for Windows 7. I mean, something's real wrong here.
Yeah, they're probably concentrating on Windows and not on Skype.
I did hear that you can still order from Lenovo and Dell and get a Windows 7 machine.
You can. And places like antonline.com, they still have Windows 7. But if I had to buy a new machine at Staples, I would count a license for Windows 7 as just part of the cost, and if I had to, I'd go buy it.
One problem in many cases that there'll be no drivers.
I don't think, as far as I know, The Windows 8 and Windows 7 drivers are going to be the same.
Okay, I'm not saying that they're not, but there is a chance that something will not work. A chance.
Well, the issue is that new hardware that is supported in Windows 8 is not supported in Windows 7. The manufacturers did not create drivers. Like if you have a laptop that's designed to work with Windows 8 and you try to roll it back to Windows 7, you may not be able to get drivers for Windows 7. And that was documented. Some of the manufacturers actually said
that's the problem.
One of them, I forget, it was Dell or HP, actually said we're not going to have any Windows 7 support at all going forward for any new machine, and they had to go back on that because the demand was so high.
When I mean, all the computers that I sold in the last 6 months, the people that ordered them wanted Windows 7 on them. And thank God Draymond still carries Windows 7. So
Andrew is, of course, Andrew's plugged in with Paul Thurrott with a T, and he's absolutely correct. Windows 8 is not a bad operating system.
No,
it has some interface issues that make people uncomfortable with it, and you know what, though? That's part of the equation. If somebody doesn't like the way a car looks, that doesn't mean it won't drive 250,000 miles. I mean, they don't like the way it looks.
You know, one of the biggest problems I have with Windows 8?
No, tell us.
There's unless you know shortcuts, I don't know how you close a program. You have to hit Alt F4, whatever it is called, Control F, in order to close the program. Otherwise, it stays in memory. And you open another one, and you open another one. At least with 7 and before, you click the X, it closes the program.
Yeah, there's a command for that, a charm command for that. I forget what it is.
It should. I mean, you should be able to just say, I want to close it right there. Bang.
Well, what aggravates me about quite a few applications, such as Skype, that there is no exit. You have to go down to the task manager and right-click Quit to close in Windows 7.
On what? On
Skype.
On Skype. No, that's the same thing in
on
XP.
Blink, on quite a few of these things. You can end up with multiple versions open in memory because the application doesn't have a stupid quit button.
Well, the thing is, with Blink, you will end up with multiple. With Skype, you cannot.
It just aggravates me. I mean, I put a darn quit button on there. I don't want all this stuff running in the background.
I have a friend whose small business just purchased a new laptop, and they went ahead and bought a Windows 8 laptop with a touchscreen.
Yeah.
And so they had it for about 2 weeks, and I said, and it was a new college grad who had it. And we're figuring it, after discussing whether it was worth it or not, we said, if anybody's going to take advantage of the Windows 8 features, it'll be somebody younger. And so I went in and asked her, what do you think about Windows 8? And how do you like the touchscreen? Because she had a 22-inch monitor hooked up to the laptop. She had the dual screen thing going. And she says, I use the touchscreen to get to the desktop. And I use the touchscreen to shut the machine off. So I said, that's it?
Well, it's a transition thing, and eventually, that as the applications become more touch-friendly, I expect that to grow. I fully expect touch screens to be predominant at some point, 3 years, 5 years, I don't know what the number is, but I do think just like with phones, I've seen people now sitting at a laptop and reach up and touch the screen to try to get things to work like they did on a phone. And then catch themselves and laugh at it. But
we'll get used to all this.
Any emerging technology that a new generation embraces, they'll be used to it. They'll expect it. It's on so many devices now that what it's not on will stand out.
And the point that Donovan's making, his youngest son loves Windows 8 without a start menu replacement. The issue with Windows is that they don't control the hardware that, wait a minute, that jumped on me. He says the core is much better than Windows 7 core. He'll have to trust him because he's a programmer. And I think that's what Andrew's saying is that Windows 8, and I believe it to be a good operating system, it's just the user interface is a disaster for people who are stuck in their old ways like us old people.
It's not just us old people, Mike. I mean, there are a lot of people that don't like it. Younger and older.
Well, get a Mac.
No, get Windows 7.
Mac is officially 30 years old.
Hey, Spence,
Yes, sir.
stick your little pinky in your side of your mouth a second. Let me see if you look like,
Oh,
what's his name? Evil?
You're old too, John.
cooperate here. Wants to be on my desk and sitting here and disrupting everything, but he won't cooperate as far as being held. Oh well.
Andrew, why aren't you calling in? He's going to say he's getting ready to go out.
Yeah.
Right? Sure.
I was gonna say
Touchscreens aren't good
shy.
for people
Shy.
who eat a lot of buttered popcorn.
What?
Yeah. Well, that's true. And for people who like to use it in the bathtub, that doesn't work either.
And talking about Windows 8,
Wait a minute. Hold your thought, Amnon.
I'm
We
holding
were
it.
talking about these HGTV shows.
Yeah.
They had a guy on there last night when they were talking about looking for a new house. He said he liked to do all of his writing sitting in the bathtub with a laptop.
Ouch.
Oh, come on.
It's what he said on. It's what he said.
Hey, if you're careful, but
Oh, come on. Jeez. Yeah, if you're careful,
All right.
you can also stand on a stud
Mac user.
20 floors up. If you're
hey,
careful.
I have actually used my iPad in a Ziploc bag, taking it out to the pool at a hotel in a Ziploc bag so I wouldn't get it wet. Sat there on the edge of the pool and used it. And it actually works. I don't know why, but it actually works through the plastic. So,
Well,
Anyway, going back to your Windows 8 comment, Amnon.
yeah, Windows 8, you know, everybody that's Windows XP's support is over? No. Microsoft announced it will continue to provide updates to its security products for Windows XP users through July 14, 2015. Previously, the company said it would halt the updates on the end of support dates for Windows XP April 8, 2014. For consumers, this means Microsoft Security Essentials will continue to get updates after support ends for Windows XP. For enterprise customers, the same goes for System Center Endpoint Protection, Forefront Client Security, Forefront Endpoint Protection, and Windows Intune running on Windows XP. So Windows XP is still going to be supported for security updates until
Might that be because there are over 400,000 banks, ATMs?
you know, I mean, but it's amazing how they keep on. They just realize, you know, this is what it is because I mean, I guess that's why they're going with Windows 9. Maybe they'll go back to the old interface and people will take it. But it's amazing how they keep going forward because they realize, hey, people are not getting off of it, and if we don't support it, there's going to be a lot of problems, and who's going to be blamed? Microsoft. But it's also interesting to know that 95% of the world's ATM machines are still running Windows XP.
Andrew said release of Windows 9 is April 2015, not November. Not November 2014 or not November 2015. I guess if they're moving it up, you're saying it was originally November 2015, that it has moved up to April 2015.
Well,
yeah, that what I read recently was that the release candidate will be available in November.
I like release candidates. I love for people to go out there and help them get all the bugs out of it.
So the developer edition, I think, will be out earlier than that, and then the release candidate for the general public should be available in November.
Did you guys see an article recently that Microsoft said that it regrets making a $150 million investment in Apple back in the 90s and keep them afloat?
The key is not just what it created in their competition, but did they make any money off of that?
Well, if they held on to the stock, they did.
Yeah. Yeah, Andrew says developer edition's coming out in April. That's right.
But listen to the rest of this story about ATMs. Banks are already purchasing extended support agreements from Microsoft. Some of the affected ATMs are running XP Embedded, which has a support cycle until January 16. Microsoft is selling custom tech support agreements that extends the life of Windows XP, although the cost can soar quickly, multiplying by the factor of 5 in the second year. JP Morgan is buying a 1-year extension and will start converting its machines to Windows 7 in July.
Now, there
Think
is
about
a
it. Think about
upgrade driver nightmare, because these machines, these ATM machines, were built on technology and platforms that were not new when XP was used. And they're going to have a real problem upgrading.
Anything embedded is going to be, because it's all proprietary. But listen to this. JP Morgan is going to start converting its machines to Windows 7. Going to start.
Does that mean new machines going forward, or actually trying to convert old ones in the field, which is going to be really hard?
It just says JP Morgan is buying a 1-year extension to Windows XP and will start converting its machines to Windows 7 in July. About 3,000 of its 19,000 ATMs need enhancements before the process can begin. It's just interesting that they're not going to go to anything later. They're going to go to Windows 7 in July of this year. I mean, what does that tell Microsoft? It is a nightmare for them, I'm sure.
I don't know. I don't want to feed the tigers, but to me, for an embedded system, I don't know why they wouldn't go with Linux.
Oh, absolutely.
Application porting.
But it's a dedicated piece of equipment.
It's dedicated. They all they have to do is...
it's possible. I think it's a cost issue, because all of their back-end systems work well with Microsoft, and if they have to convert to Linux...
Right, but these machines don't last forever. At some point, they have to age out and have replacement technology. And to me, I'm not a Linux fan. I know we've got some Linux guys in the chat room, but you can't deny its stability.
Absolutely. No, come on, Spence. I mean, the back end...
Well, I think a Linux upgrade for that hardware would make a lot of sense, because you wouldn't have the issues that
I'm saying the new hardware.
But
why don't they evolve to Linux? I mean, they have a reason. If they were here, they would give us an answer. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that from the outside looking at it, it makes no sense to me. Why? Because the Linux kernel is, and I don't know everything I'm talking about here, but it seems to be more stable, lasts long. I mean, there's stories of people remodeling their office, tearing down a wall and finding a Linux server in there that hadn't been rebooted in 4 years. Yep. It had been accessed remotely, and everybody forgot that it was in there.
Because it's working.
It works.
But I guess it depends on who owns the process in the institution as to whether they're willing to spend the money, hire their people that they need to make the conversion.
I mean, am I a Windows fanboy? Absolutely not, under no circumstances. Do I get frustrated with them? Yes. Do I think they do some really stupid stuff? Yes. But they're trying to meet the needs of 85% of the market, not 1% of the market like we are on some of our specialized needs. That being said, the idea of thinking that the air traffic control system depends on Windows to move airplanes around scares me to death. Yep.
Hey, Nick.
Yes.
So you put your Chromebook. I mean, I'm just reading what going on in chat about Chromebooks. So you're using your Chromebook with the camera.
Yeah.
Is that USB 2?
I was using a USB 3 port, but it was a USB 2 camera with that 35-foot USB extension cable.
And you didn't have any issue?
No, and I was using Justin TV's built-in web streamer.
Very nice.
But it appeared to work pretty well.
Is it still snowing?
Let me check. There was only a little patch still around.
Oh, so the temperature is going up.
No, it's still 24
Of course,
degrees.
it's going up. Global warming.
No, it has stopped snowing.
Oh.
Why?
I was going to say, put the
Oh,
link
here, I'll
in
put it
there.
up right now.
Yeah. Because it's interesting. Nick put the camera there and called the local TV station, and the TV station picked it up and showed it on the news. It's interesting, and he's doing it with a Chromebook.
So what do we know about the net neutrality ruling?
Yeah. I had a story here about that too. According to a report from Gizmodo, a U.S. appeals court has invalidated the FCC's net neutrality rules. From the decision, it says, given that the Commission has chosen to classify broadband providers in a manner that exempts them from treatment as common carriers, the Communication Act expressly prohibits the Commission from nonetheless regulating them as such. Because the Commission has failed to establish that the anti-discrimination and anti-blocking rules do not impose per se common carrier obligations, we vacate those portions of the open internet order. Could this be the final nail in the coffin for net neutrality? Or will the FCC fight back? I hope they fight back. What do you know about that?
Well, the last I recall is that the net neutrality initiative was exactly the opposite of its title, that it was to allow control over the net. So I'm confused. I don't know which one is real. You know how the politicians put fake names on things like Affordable Care Act?
Yep.
So at one level, it seems like that was a good decision. But I mean, even those people who advocate and say that it is the right decision, there's always the law of unintended consequences, which says that these politicians pass what they think is going to benefit people like themselves, and it actually has the opposite effect, but then they leave it in place instead of fixing it. So I don't know what's going to happen.
They're going to turn the internet off.
Isn't one of the issues the Time Warner and the Comcast, the people that own the cable things, and now they have the internet situation too, and they see where things are going for over the air broadcasting, and they're trying to cover their rear ends.
I don't know.
And then what's the difference between those carriers and the cell phone companies as well?
I don't know.
One thing you can count on, that everybody's doing not what's best for the consumer, but what's best for the bottom dollar.
Consumer has zero input on any of this stuff. You're absolutely correct.
Which is ridiculous.
Well, it's the way it is. I mean, it's the you got all the. I'm not going to get into it, but
it's why we're going to continue to lag behind the other countries in the world too.
Well, I have a personality flaw in that whenever things get too complicated, and I have an option, I just withdraw from it. Or when it gets to where I don't like it, for example, commercial television, it got to the point where every time I tried to watch a TV show, my belief systems and values were insulted on a regular basis by multi-million-dollar crackpots. And so I just decided I didn't want to participate in that anymore. And so I don't watch TV anymore.
So did you
Same way with the internet. They make it too complicated, too expensive. I'll read a book. I still like reading books.
Are you connecting to us through a book?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but I just found this. I'll put a link in the chat. The title of the article is "What FCC Decision Means for Cable Cord Cutters." I think that'll be an interesting read. This is from Market Watch. And isn't Market Watch one of the places that John C. Dvorak writes for from time to time? This is part of the Wall Street Journal.
I've never seen him write for them. He might, though.
Okay. Internet neutrality could raise cost of streaming TV shows.
Absolutely. Not can, it will.
John is suggesting that we can have an impact if we use our money in dollars in concert with others to make a point. There are two problems with that, John. The first is that it's really hard to get people to act in the same way. They're too lazy. They're out in Colorado smoking marijuana instead of focusing on the real things in life. And the second thing is that the other half of them are convinced that it's a waste of time, so they won't get involved. I don't share your optimism for being able to drive these things. I don't know where it's going. You know what? But I'm not all that negative about it. I mean, when you create, and we've said this, talked about it here before, whenever things get to the point that people don't want to play, then that creates entrepreneurial opportunities for somebody else to come along and actually provide customer service and say, guess what? I mean, even companies now are advertising it. Who is it? I forget who the company, Barracuda Systems or somebody says, do you want tech support from India? No. Oh, good. We're your company. We don't do that.
Entrepreneurs like Aereo, and who knows what the result of this upcoming court case is going to be.
John says, wasn't it Verizon who put in additional charges but backed down when the face of consumer complaints? Yeah. I mean, I get that, and certainly on a micro scale, things like that will happen. But I mean, think about this, and I hate getting political all the time, so I won't do it. Particularly, John, since you and I are on different sides of the fence. But in that particular instance, and I recall that you were talking about, I don't remember what it was they were charging for, but it was an additional $5 per month, as I recall, and these people went nuclear over an additional $5 per month on their phone bills, and then they turn around and vote for a policy that's going to increase their taxes by $20, $30, $40, $50, $60, $70, $80, $100 a month. That's good. That's okay. I don't get it. I just think that the general public is way too fickle to be able to band together to have an impact on these major corporations. They're just not in it. Google couldn't care less about the individual. They couldn't. Then it's not even on their radar, in my opinion. They're too big. They can't.
You want to just give a shout out to the Tech and Coffee guys who are streaming this in their Hangout and watching it and commenting on it, I'm sure, in the Hangout. So good morning, guys.
Good morning, guys. I still don't understand there what Dan was saying, that C2K Skype connection locked up, so now he's in the blind. I'm not following, and he's...
I don't either. What are you connecting to on Skype? What does Skype have to do with Computers 2K now, Dan?
I don't know, but maybe he rebooted his machine because he's not answering.
So I set
what
up
are they
the
doing for
Chromebook
us in this
cam.
Hangout? Are they doing like this old TV show where they all sit around, play the old show, and then make fun every comment and they laugh at it? What was the name of that show?
I don't know. No, they're in the chat, and somebody's capturing the live stream and whatnot.
So Nick, you put the cam back up?
Yeah, but unfortunately, because Chrome OS has no functionality, I can't edit any webcam settings.
Chrome OS has no functionality.
Well, I mean, you can't edit webcam settings,
Yeah.
which is a major issue for somebody trying to use a webcam with this thing.
Mystery Science Theater. That's what it was. And they would play these old science fiction movies, and they had these smart Alex sitting in the audience, showing the back of the outlines of the back of their heads, and every time somebody would make some there'd be action on the screen. They'd make some sarcastic, cynical comment about, "Oh yeah, we really like to hear that one. Oh, but your mother doesn't know you're talking that way on screen."
Wait, so, Nick, are you saying that it looks like it's a little bit too bright. So
Yeah, no, I can't do anything about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
Nick's Skycam.
Uncle Guy is upset
Snow
that I'm
cam.
not shaving.
I mean, it's nice that the Chromebook does it, but I don't understand how I can't edit a webcam setting.
To adjust the brightness and all the rest
Yeah.
of the stuff. Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't make any logical sense to me. Imagine if I needed to use this with if I had a meeting with somebody over Skype, and I had to use a webcam, and I looked like that. That wouldn't be good.
Bruce, you're the
Yes?
you're the Chromebook.
Well, they're coming out with new things all the time. They've added features where you can do some audio adjustment now. Choose between different things you got plugged in. I plug in my ATR 2100, plug in my Behringer mixer, plug in my little earbuds, and when I click on audio, now I've got choices and stuff like that. I think you're going to see more things like that coming up. Most webcams do a pretty decent job. And don't require drivers. I've got people on my team, and IT is not going to install Logitech camera software on their work computers. But if they just plug in the Logitech camera, it works because it's plug and play. Yeah, I agree. It would be nice to be able to have some adjustments on the cameras, but that really kind of moves Chrome OS into another category that I don't think they want to go. So
I don't
I've not
think
had
so.
Are you,
I mean, I think if you're going to market yourself as a device that people can use for things like video conferences and stuff like that, then that's something you need to have. Mm-hmm. Why even give you the option to plug in a webcam if that's what the case is?
Isn't that a driver issue?
But it does work fine for most the great majority of applications. If you're pointing a webcam outside and you got some bright sunlight and white snow, you're going to have some problems with white balance. But a lot of students, a lot of schools are using this, and they're doing screencast. They're doing conferences with their teachers and everything. And for doing something like that in your house, it works quite fine. And then there's that whole other group of people that as soon as they get any kind of a laptop, they put a piece of tape over the cam because they're scared some program hacker's going to get into it and stuff like that. So, I think most of us would agree that the primary design for webcams on laptops is indoors, where you don't have as many lighting issues. Even when I take my regular laptop and I go to the Muse Coffee House, I choose where I sit. If there's a choice of empty seats, the choice that's going to give me the best lighting, and that's when I'm using my Dell laptop and my C910 camera. If I sit in a place where I'm facing outside and the sun's coming down, it's gonna wash me out.
But at least you have the option to edit the settings of the camera if you wanted to.
But you know what? Rather than editing the settings on the camera, I do that by choosing where I'm going to sit. So it makes it a lot easier.
Wait a second. Is there Skype on the Chromebook?
No, that's another issue.
Only if you have an Intel Core processor and you're running Linux alongside.
Okay, so right now you don't have Skype on your machine, right, Nick?
No, I can't use Skype.
Yeah. You know what? The only thing I use Skype for these days is this show.
Well, no. My point is, what I was going to say is that I can't remember which machine it was that I couldn't adjust the camera by itself, but if I go into Skype, and there would be cam settings, and you can adjust it, and it will actually adjust it for the machine, not just for Skype.
Yeah, but that's the cam settings for the software of the particular camera that you have. That's not resident in Skype. It's just a button that links to.
Well, the thing is, I didn't have any software. That's my point, unless it was somewhere and was hidden. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so never mind. But if you don't have it, okay. Let's see who just called in.
Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Hey, I got a question, and it's probably just me, but what I used to do, I would do documents, and I'd save them as a text file, TXT file.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's got where I can't read them, with the screen reader, of course, but it won't read it, to me. I have to convert it to a DOC file. But is there a way where you can set it where it automatically switches it internally in the computer, where it thinks it's a text file is a doc file?
What are you using? Which program?
Microsoft Word.
And you were using Microsoft Word before, and when you start a new document and save it, it would save it as a TXT by default?
Oh, I'm saying, probably not. Well,
Yeah, I don't think so.
Larry, let me ask you this question.
Uh-huh.
If you set the .txt file to open in Notepad instead of Word,
Right.
would it work?
Probably. Yeah, I think I was saying it incorrect. A lot of times you can go into just into my documents, and you can make up a text document. And I think what I used to do, I would save some of them as TXT files. So that's why they came up as text file, TXT. But I just used to be able to read them, but now I don't. And I got a buku of them, and I just need to convert them. If I convert it to DOC, then it reads it fine. But
try opening them with Notepad and see if that matters. See if it's application specific or if something else is going on. I mean, that's a function of your reader, which is supposed to read any text on the screen. By the time it's displayed in Word, I don't know what difference it would matter that it's in text or DOC, but obviously you say it does.
Yeah. But anyway, all right.
Try setting the extension. Go to a file, right-click on that file, the TXT file, and tell it to open with Notepad or edit in Notepad instead of opening with Word, and see if that makes any difference. If it does, you can change the file association such that all TXT files open in Notepad instead of Word, which is fine because if it's a TXT file, you don't need to open it in Word anyway.
Right.
But if you want to open it in Word and it does work, then there may be some way to tell Word to convert it to a DOC when you open it. I forget exactly how that works, but I think the conversion has to be done when it's saved. So you may have the additional step of opening it in Word and then saving it as a DOC, and then maybe, I don't know if you'd have to reopen it at that point. You'll just have to experiment with it. As far as I'm concerned, that's a function of the reader. It's recognizing some things on the screen and not recognizing. And actually, Larry's situation makes a very good point when you talk about support for XP. Larry's blind. He uses very expensive reader software that if he switches to another operating system, then he has to buy that new software, and it's what, $1,600, Larry?
Roughly, yeah.
And I mean, and what it would provide, what the new operating system would do for him is absolutely nothing. It's just wasted money for him, and plus a new learning curve and all that, and it's just not worth it.
Right.
So me and Amnon just stick with XP.
I don't understand, Larry. If you are saving everything as a TXT, why do you even use Word?
He said he has some of them saved as TXT.
Oh, some.
He's not doing them all that way.
Okay.
And I've got Larry's computer. I guess you got my emails, Larry. It's ready to go.
Okay. Well, do you think the show will be over by 12:30 or?
I will be. I may even have to leave early, but it'll be done by 12.
Yeah,
okay.
I have to be somewhere at 12:30 also. So, yes, it will be over.
All right. Well, what we'll do, we'll come by there then, and like you say, if you're gone, just put it where you said you'd put it.
Right.
Okay. And you
Very
won't
good.
get to see my you won't get to see my pretty face, but anyway, I'll get a computer.
Oh, darn.
All right.
Take care, Larry.
All right, thanks.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. So,
You were saying, Bruce, that you have not had any good luck with Bamboozer lately.
No, not in the last 2 months.
I mean, look at all the comments in chat.
But some of these guys say that they are not watching on Bamboozer.
Right.
Right.
That they're
But,
having a
I mean,
problem
like,
with
you know,
Bamboozer.
Every week for the last 2 months, I've tried what I've done with Bamboozer for the last 3 years, and I keep lowering the bit rate, and it's still, you know, within 2 minutes it's dropped 300 frames.
So far this morning, we dropped 51 so far. So that's not too bad.
What quality of stream are you sending to them?
650.
650 kbps.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I go into my Bamboozer channel and I click edit and I click test bandwidth, I get a red light every time.
Wow.
I don't understand why you guys are still using them.
Well, I'm slowly, I'm changing it now that we have everything on YouTube. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I would take it off that list, though.
I would just change it
No.
as
The
default.
only reason
Leave
I
it there.
left, the only reason I'm leaving it on the list is so some people in Europe are going to be getting it pretty good because they are there.
Then don't make it the default.
Yeah.
Well,
what I
the
think.
reason it's the default is because that's where I am actually streaming to from this machine.
It doesn't matter on the website.
And I know it doesn't. The thing is, I'm changing slowly. So if you
Here
go
we
and
go.
look at the other shows, I took all the archives out of those pages. There are no more archives. All the archives are in the archives. And slowly, and as I'm going, I need to talk with Ron about how I'm going to do this. I want to have a situation where somebody comes to Computers 2K Now and clicks on Watch Live. I want them to be able to see this week's show or
YouTube playlist.
that's what I don't know how to do yet, how we're going to tackle it. But I wanted to play that. And other than that, it will play the what I'm calling 24/7, the replay of all the other ones. We need to figure out a way how to do it. But slowly, it's going. We're converting. We'll let people know that just change and go to another one.
Well, but Amnon, you set it up. You were,
Yeah.
and I agree with you at the time that you set the default at computers2know.com/live.php so that you could switch between CDNs
Right.
seamlessly to the end user.
Correct.
And I think that what I'm saying here is by using Bamboozer with all of its issues as the default, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot because you're sending the default user, people who don't want to sit there and click on things, to a bad CDN.
To a bad
at this
CDN.
point.
Yeah.
And I think that if you change the default to Daily Motion, for example, and there are people who want to or like Bamboozer, they can still go to Bamboozer. But I think that you've defeated exactly what you were preaching in favor of.
Well, it's probably because of the steps that I have to go of changing. I mean, to change it right now, it's not going to be a big deal.
No,
but
not
to
during
change
the
it
show.
on make it on regular basis to go to Daily Motion, it's going to be a little bit of problem because it's not what you see. There's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes that copies files to other files, and that's what comes up when you're coming to the show. So it's just a little bit of time.
I understand. But Uncle Guy is saying Amnon can't control the user's connection speed.
No, it's got
that's
nothing
correct.
to do with that.
It has. In this case, we happen to know where a problem is. We've identified that, and whenever, for example, Andrew tells us whenever he's got 150 megabytes down on Fios Link and he's having problems, we don't think it's connection speed.
You know, I feel bad about it too because I mean, Bamboozer was very responsive, gave us both premium accounts.
Yep. And they store everything.
Right.
Well, look, here's
but it doesn't matter. I mean,
Bamboozer is doing this to themselves. They have identified, and this is what we said whenever we ran into that issue that day that everybody got so hot. They have identified the market they want. They've identified how to reach that market. That's what they want. They're not interested, obviously, in what Bruce is doing and what we're doing, or they would fix their system to be able to support it.
Right.
They're interested, apparently, in people broadcasting from iPhones and terrorist attacks or something. And that's fine. They're free to choose to do whatever they want to do.
Absolutely.
And more power to them. They've been good to us. We like them as a company, but they're not meeting our needs.
Which of the streaming services that we use support other than Flash
None.
video? Because I'm watching now on my iPhone, I'm watching the Bamboozer feed. And there's no Flash on my iPhone. So they must be using HTML5 or something else.
And what happens if you go to Dailymotion onto Vaughn? Same thing. Same thing.
Somehow it's I'm getting it. So it's
I know
that's the advantage is that you can watch it on your on different devices and it adapts.
No, I don't think it has to do with Bamboozer. I think all of them you can watch all of them.
No, that's Bamboozer. That has nothing to do with your website.
They're providing a because they're catered to the smartphone community. They have a way of supporting non-Flash devices.
Andrew posted a link to the IAIB post about it. Justin and Vaughn do not have HSL, but Dailymotion and Ustream do. Of course, Ustream's dead to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Why do you
Spence,
say that?
Are you on the
Those are all
iPad?
pre-rolls. I mean the mid-rolls.
Spence, are you on the iPad?
Mid-rolls
No,
and
my
YouTube?
iPhone I'm using.
And did you try to go to one of the other ones?
No, not yet.
Ustream.
Oh, Ustream. I thought you said YouTube was useless.
I may have said that, but if I did, I didn't mean to. I meant to say Ustream.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, Dailymotion is great. They'll adjust the speed and all that, and they will store it. I upload it afterwards, and it's there. But I will need. I decided the ones that we're going to have on the site for people to see past shows is going to be on YouTube.
Andrew's
wonder how
playing with
long-
archive.org.
The what?
Andrew's playing with archive.org.
I know, which is fine. And
I
you're
wonder
saying-
how long the Dailymotion thing will last.
Well, I mean, as far as I know, they're there to stay. I have no idea.
Well, it will. Yeah, but I don't think that they're going to disappear. But I think that it's just a matter of time before they start doing mid rolls and other things, just like every other CD.
Well, possibly.
Apparently,
Spence.
Vaughn requires Flash.
Okay.
I'll try Dailymotion now.
Interesting.
All right, I'm going to make a comment here.
Yeah.
Andrew is concerned that people know that he is compensated by Dailymotion. He's
Why?
advocating for Dailymotion, and he wants people to know that. But the reality is that it does not, in my opinion, affect his judgment or
No, it
opinion.
does not.
Because if he didn't like them and believe in them, he wouldn't take their money.
Absolutely.
If he starts recommending a bad service in exchange for money, his credibility is shot, and it'll take a long time to get it back. So, Andrew, I don't think it matters that you're paid by them. It's good that you want to offer that, but to me, it's irrelevant.
Absolutely irrelevant. I mean, I love
you're in business.
Dailymotion.
Everybody's got to eat and pay the mortgage, so I think you do what you can.
I mean, I may not know how to use it the right way for them to record while I'm doing it and all this. That may be shortcoming of me not knowing how to use it.
Just a quick scan of things. I would have to say that the Bamboozer feed is of higher quality video than either Vaughn or Dailymotion, at least viewing it.
That's okay. I'll tell you why. Because Dailymotion adjusted the feed to your bandwidth. That does not mean that you cannot go in Dailymotion. If you put the cursor on the picture, you can see it, and it's probably what is it at now?
You can force the bandwidth?
You can force the bandwidth.
No, okay, so actually, Amnon, that might be true, but the reason that Bamboozer looks the best is because you're streaming directly from Bamboozer on the VidBlaster machine.
So you're saying if I'm going to do the
whoever your main CDN is, you need to be streaming off of your VidBlaster machine.
Hold it a second. Okay, here's the question. Right now, the VidBlaster machine uses FMLE to send to Bamboozer. That's it.
Yeah.
But the VidBlaster machine also, through HDMI, puts it onto the other machine, which stream to the other ones.
Yeah.
I want to end up in a situation where I am not going to be doing any streaming with FMLE from the VidBlaster machine. I only want to take it to the other machine. So are you saying that at that point I cannot get good? Hey, Andrew.
Good morning.
I cannot get as good a stream as I can get coming out directly with FMLE from here?
No, the issue is that you're doing 4:3, so you're cropping the living hell out of the video that you're sending to Vaughn, Dailymotion, and Justin TV. When you go 16:9, all the issues will be solved. It's because you're taking a 16:9 video out of the graphics card. The graphics card won't do a video output of.
Well, the camera will not do it either.
Well, that's part of making everything look better. Is you're going to have to upgrade your camera.
Nick,
but
how is he connecting it to the streaming box?
Through HDMI, but because the computer, so I'm not streaming at what 640 by 480.
Right.
Yeah.
A graphics card does not do an output of 640 by 480. So you have to do a 16:9 output, and then inside of Wirecast on the streaming machine, crop it all up to make it look full screen.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why it doesn't look good.
Yeah, if you're doing some weird, scaling up and down, you can get that. But in most cases, if you're just outputting, like Amnon, what you should be doing is not streaming at all with FMLE on that box. That box should only be switching. You send it out to the streaming box, and the streaming box does everything else.
Exactly what I want to end up with. Yeah, and that's how it's going to end up with.
But you almost have to go 16:9 and BHD for that to look good.
No, he could do 864 by 480.
But he needs to do something that's 16:9.
16:9, yeah.
Because a graphics card will not output anything that's that low of a resolution. That's the biggest issue.
Well, so we'll see.
I mean, you can still use SD cameras with 16:9. You just change the layout.
Well, no, because he can, but I told him not.
Let's go letterbox it.
Amnon should be using a Logitech C920.
Yeah, I'm thinking about changing.
Come on, let's do it.
Yeah.
C910.
C320.
C3PO.
What's that new one, Andrew? The $300 one?
Oh yeah, there's a apparently it's coming out in the second quarter. There's a $300 USB 3 webcam. I don't know how good this thing is going to be. I actually, the only reason why I posted on the IIB is because I've been waiting to see a USB 3.0 webcam, and there hasn't been one. But these guys are claiming it's going to do 1080p, really high 1080p, not super compressed 1080p. And it's going to be about $300. But they're also claiming something called 3K. True 3K or 1080p, and I just think that's like a baloney term that they're using.
Why would you spend $300 on a webcam?
Oh, if the sensors are right on the thing,
Yeah.
it may work as good as a regular camera, if not better, because you're able to control the camera with the software.
Wouldn't you rather buy a camera though for $300?
Well, if you get a camera, you also need a capture card, right? So that's another $200.
Did you see that camera that does 4K? To 4 different cards.
I saw that.
There's plenty of cameras that do 4K. Yeah,
it's four regions on the screen on the lens, each one 1K, and they are. I mean, give me a break, Andrew. When are you going 4K?
It's really funny. I was thinking about going 1080 this year, but the problem is nobody's able to watch 1080.
There you go.
So there's no point.
There. Right. Nobody's going to be able to watch it. Not enough.
Because if you're doing 1080, you have to push at least 3 to 5. Well, 5 megabits would be perfect for it. 5 megabit stream, and most people are barely able to do 2 right now. So
right. Exactly.
I'm pushing 1.5. But due to transcoding and variable bandwidth adjustment with Dailymotion, people don't notice when they're having a problem. And the CDNs only support up to 3 right now, so it's useless.
Oh, really? They do support up to 3?
Yeah. I don't know about what Justin does or what Bambuser does, but I know Dailymotion and Ustream support up to 3.
Well. I'll see how we can do something. I mean, when I'm changing here, I don't know. You guys must have much better eyes than I do, because I don't see that picture not as good.
What is TikiLive.com?
I know the guys over there.
What is it?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Is it just a CDN?
I think it's the same Tiki Live.
Say again?
I think it's the same Tiki Live. If it is, I'm not going to comment on them.
But what I'm asking, and not asking to comment on them.
They're
I'm
CDN.
asking.
They're CDN.
Okay, that's all I was asking.
Sorry.
Amnon.
Yes.
You know how you'll see it?
How?
Go to Bambuser and look at the text on the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah.
It says Nick Andrew, and then
yeah.
Now go to another CDN. It's
I'm going to another CDN. Yeah.
Completely distorted.
I'm going to Dailymotion.
So you guys were talking about mid-rolls and stuff. Dailymotion does have mid-rolls, but it's not on all videos. It's only on certain videos. And the other thing is, you as the host could control when you want to push that mid-roll.
Well, I'll tell you, it's as long as there are CDNs that don't do mid-rolls, it's going to be hard to justify the ones that do.
Everyone's doing it.
JTV's not.
I realize that.
JTV's doing mid-rolls now. I had a mid-roll on Friday.
Twitch isn't. Twitch is not doing mid-rolls.
But for how long?
Yeah, but Twitch is for gaming. I mean, it's specific for gaming.
But if you embed it, who cares?
Yeah.
Listen, I personally don't care. You know, it's part of it. If I'm not paying for it, then they can do whatever they want. Technically,
sure. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, but people will go other places.
Oh,
well,
I don't argue with their right.
If somebody's not going to watch me due to a mid roll, then they're never going to watch me.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, the way that I look at it is, the way that I check to see if it's okay is I do a full screen on this laptop, and if it's fine, if it looks all right, then it's okay with me.
Yeah, but I mean, you can tell the difference between.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, no, absolutely, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
Hey, so I got something interesting going on. I was asked to produce an event for the Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons Conference. They want me to broadcast live. Spencer and I will be broadcasting live from there in April, at the end of April. And they've given us a budget for, flight and set and production. So with that budget, I have about $5,000 to spend on building pretty much a studio there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to run by some of these ideas by Nick and Mike to see what they think. And everybody else here, of course.
Go.
But Mike more for the audio.
That was not
when
important.
we did Blog World, Mike, you had told me not to get the DBXs, but we were thinking to get the DBXs. Do you suggest we get the DBXs for this event, or just get the mics?
No, not for a one-day event. I wouldn't.
How about a 2-day event?
Even a 3-day.
You wouldn't get
I
the
mean, you're
DBX.
talking about $200 per microphone, and the problem. I'll tell you. Let me convince you.
Okay.
Remember that a DBX is a gate. A gate turns the microphone off between words and even sentences, and sometimes even between words. For a studio where you have a fairly high signal-to-noise ratio, let's say that your normal audio is 40 dB above your fan noise and background noise, the gating in the background, it's harder to hear, but it does prevent a buildup of noise between your microphones. If you go into a noisy environment like a convention hall, that signal-to-noise ratio is much lower, meaning that there's a lot more noise behind the audio, and the gating might become very obvious. You might get 3 of these things there and find out that you have to turn them off.
Well, what if I'm not using the gate? I'm using it for the compression and the EQs.
But the compression and EQ actually makes the background noise problem worse because it reduces the signal-to-noise ratio even more.
Okay, so you're saying, what kind of mics do you recommend I get?
If it were me, I'd be getting ATR 2100s used XLR, but beyond that, I'd get the MKH, the 441s.
Get the 441s.
And I'm not saying that just because they're awesome mics, because quality-wise, I don't think it's going to matter. The 441 is probably the best dynamic microphone in the world. Now, that doesn't mean it's probably the best one for every application, because it's not. I guarantee you that the Sennheiser... Now, what are the first parts of... I forget the first numbers of the 441, for heaven's sakes.
MD
441, thank you.
MD 441Q.
Yeah, it's in a recording studio environment for a dynamic microphone, it's probably the best microphone in the world for 2 reasons. One, because of the accuracy of the reproduction of the sound, and second, because of the quality of the off-axis rejection, which keeps hollow-sounding noise out of your recording. That being said, that does not mean it's going to sound the same as a PR40 or an RE20. Many people will try the 441 and prefer the RE20 or the PR40. The opposite also will be true. There's no hard and fast rule there. But reality is the 441 is a fabulous microphone. They used to use them all the time on Match Game and quite a few TV shows. It's the microphone that you see Stevie Nicks singing into all the time. That's the only microphone she would use for a long time.
How about a mixer?
Whatever you can get.
I was thinking I would just bring my Mackie VLZ3.
That's what I'd do.
And then video-wise, we were looking at getting 3 HFG 20s or 30s. And then I got to build a computer out to have, the Blackmagic quad chip inside and doing all that.
Well, I think a lot of that's going to be driven by what you want to do with them after the event. If it's something that you can get long-term use out of, then I'd go ahead and do it. But as far as just for it being that event, a lot of times, believe it or not, these event production companies will go out and spend major bucks on all this equipment. Then after it's over and done with, they put it on Craigslist for nothing. I mean, they get rid of it. But I mean, when you're talking about long-term use, you're going to dual purpose the investment. I would decide, as far as the event is concerned, you could probably get away with webcams. But in terms of what you want long-term, I would certainly consider getting something I could use for the next couple of years.
Yes, that's what I plan on doing. But that's what I'm up to.
What kind of bandwidth are you going to have at the location?
They're providing us with a T3 line.
Okay.
So I'll have at least a good solid 1 or 2 megabits back to the studio, and then I'm going to stream from the studio out to the CDNs. But they're using a specific CDN, so I'm just going to be using one CDN. I could send them from the studio, I could send them like a 2 megabit connection. That's the biggest problem, getting it to the studio. And it's so unpredictable, you don't know. But apparently, it's at the Moscone Center, so they should have decent internet.
Maybe.
Should.
I'm assuming. I mean, the Javits Center, we had a T3 line at the Javits, and the Javits Center was solid.
I've been at shows where they actually came around to each. I was actually working at a show where they came around and confiscated access points.
Oh yeah, the unions will do that.
Yeah,
They wanted. I forgot what it was. Suncast remembers. We needed a screwdriver, and they asked for, I think, $200. How much did they ask for the screwdriver at the Javits? $250 to borrow a screwdriver. Because it was a union.
Yep. Well, our demo was built on wireless because we were using all tablets, and they came and physically took the router from our kiosk. Even though we had a key locking it up, they had their copy of the key and took the router. I had to go check it out from their security and have an explanation as to why I needed it, because so many people put up wireless that it was unusable. I understand why they did it, but they can't just confiscate them and not tell anybody.
Yeah, I've become very clever on 2 occasions of hiding those.
Yeah, I was just going to say. There's so many ways that you can hide them.
Yeah.
Well, when you have to take the kiosk from them, right? You rent it.
Yeah.
And they give you the key to the only place you can lock up. And there is no other open space.
Don't lock up. Don't lock it up. You can. I mean.
Oh, no. After that, I took it with me.
What you would. Yeah, but what if they come during the day and?
Well, what are you going to do? They run the show. They can turn your power off. What are you going to do?
Right.
Here's the key. So you got a yellow Cat 5 cable coming to your booth, right? And you've got your laptop or PC on top of this round top table with a black tablecloth that covers it and goes all the way to the floor. So their yellow cable comes underneath that tablecloth, and then you always make sure you have at least a blue and a yellow, multiple colors, and then you've got your router, and you duct tape your router onto the bottom of this round top table. And use a yellow cable coming out from under into your PC. So.
Yeah, it's pretty. That was the first time I've been to a show where they actually did something without coming and talking to us first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can always take a desktop computer and just stick the router inside the case, open the machine, stick it in there, take the wires out, stick the antenna out, and that's it. It's a computer.
Well, after we explained to them that our demo runs on wireless, they gave it back to us.
Oh.
So.
Well, they've got programs where they're scanning, they're looking for these, these SSIDs out there. What's Turner M?
They can triangulate. I mean, I've seen heat map programs that show you all the Wi-Fi signals in a room. You can find something to within a few feet. You just walk around the room, you collect all the information, it builds a color-coded heat map of all of the hotspots where they are, and you can find it. It's not hard.
What about specials?
We do have specials. And interestingly enough, Tiger Direct is no longer publishing a weekly ad. I mean, I said that before, but now they don't even have it on their webpage anymore. You can't find where it says weekly ad and it doesn't say none available this week. It's not there.
I just got an email with weekly specials, I think. I don't look at it.
Sometimes you get an email but they're not, for some reason they decided not to publish. Even if they didn't, I don't care if it's in the newspaper or not. Why not have it online? It's fine with me. But the way you currently shop, there's not like what's today's deal and all that stuff. It's just I prefer the ad.
So what do we have? Now, let's not talk about what we don't have.
We don't got nothing.
Don't got nothing.
No, but I have all the other major retailers. You want to do it now?
Sure, it's 11 o'clock.
Is it 11 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Wow. All right. So, Starting with Best Buy, we've got a Toshiba 2 terabyte USB 3.0 hard drive, portable hard drive for $99. That's 20 off. Seagate 2 terabyte network drive, $129.99, save 20. SanDisk Cruiser Fit. These are the small USB flash drives that look like the little nano receivers you have for a mouse. They only stick out maybe less than half an inch, so it's not a chance of breaking it off. 8 gig for $8.99, save $11. 16 gig for $11.99, save $18. 32 gig for $24.99, save $30. They have a Lenovo 14-inch AMD A6 quad-core touchscreen laptop for $399.99. They've got a wireless Brother mono laser with duplex printing. This is a desktop printer, does not have a scanner. $99.99, save $50. They have an Asus 11.6-inch Celeron, which is a dual core touchscreen laptop, $279.99. And they've got a 7-inch Samsung Galaxy Galaxy Tab, I say 3, with 8 gig of expandable memory for $139.99. That's $60 off the regular price. It's at Best Buy. Office Max has a 7-inch Lenovo IdeaPad Android tablet, 8 gig of memory, $79, save $10. PNY USB flash drive, 8 gig for $799, save $12. 16 gig for $999, save $20. They've got a Brother PT 273, or 2730, I should say. PC connectable label printer. So this is kind of a high-end labeler, which also has a USB interface, so you can print from their application right to the label printer. Handy if you do a lot of repetitive things, or you've got you want to save a specific label instead of having to type it in over and over again and save it. $49, that's 50 off, it's half price. They've got a wireless Epson printer scanner fax copier inkjet for $69, save $30. HP OfficeJet 6700 printer scanner fax copier for $119.99, save $50. They've got an HP A6 desktop, $399.99, save $100. This comes with a wireless keyboard, 1 terabyte of memory, and 1 terabyte drive, and 8 gig of memory. This does not come with a monitor. Acer 24-inch LED monitor for $149, save $30. 11.6-inch Toshiba touchscreen laptop for $319.99, save $60. That's all at Office Max. At Office Depot, 15.6-inch Dell i3 touchscreen laptop for $399, save $100. Brother laser printer scanner copier with duplex and wired networking, $129.99. That's $50 off. The Lenovo 20-inch E2 all-in-one PC. This is a display and PC in one unit, $379.99. Western Digital 1 terabyte portable hard drive, $79.99, save $10. And Microsoft Wireless Comfort desktop. This is a desktop keyboard and mouse combo. The 5000 model, $49.99, save $20. That's at Office Depot. And finally, at Staples, Dell 8-inch Venue Windows 8 tablet for $229.99, save $100. It's a 32 gig version. Acer 23-inch LED monitor for $129.99, save $40. They've got a Toshiba 15.6-inch i3 laptop, 1 terabyte hard drive, 12 gig of memory for $699.99, save $200. Brother wireless printer scanner fax copier inkjet with two-sided printing for $69.99, save $30. And finally, Epson Workforce WF2530 wireless all-in-one printer scanner fax copier for $69.99, save $30. That's all at Staples. And that be it.
That Dell Venue for $229. If anybody is interested in trying a Windows Surface Pro tablet for that price, pretty good.
And it is a pretty good price.
Mhm.
And that comes with, all of them seem to come with Office, Home, and Student Edition.
Mm-hmm.
Free
So it's got-
or
No, it comes with it. It's a full license. It's not a trial license.
wow? That by
So I
itself
think
is
it's
about
their
100.
way of
but
trying to
that's-
drive the home school market by putting those. I mean, it's not all the Office apps. It's
I
probably
know,
Word.
but it's about it's a little bit over $100, I think.
Yes.
So
I mean, Office 365 is $100 and something for 3 users per year, right?
interesting, very interesting.
Well, I
All
just
right.
reach into my drawer full of money here and just go get one.
Yeah, just take a handful of and go down to the store, right?
That's it. Yeah, I tell you, having changed employment, and we've been living on a frugal budget for years anyway. But the point is that you just think very differently when you have when your job has changed.
Well, things are bad.
Oh, not bad at all. But just you
Knock on wood.
realize that before, when we were putting the bulk of our resources and income to paying down debt, you are living on a much lower budget because you're putting a lot of money aside. But now that
Because you choose to.
yeah, but we chose to. Yeah, we chose to. It was hard, but we paid it off. So we're debt free. And now I'm living on a lot less salary, but it's like it's the same because I've been living that way all these years and very comfortable doing it, and it doesn't feel that much different. You just you're very aware of it. That's all, really.
So, do you have your wind generated electric windmill out there?
Squirrel power. I've enlisted all the local squirrels to running these little treadmills or these little wheels, and that's what generates the power.
Electricity prices across Europe dropped last month as mild temperatures, strong winds, and stormy weather produced wind power record in Germany, France, and the UK, according to data released by Platts. The price decline was more marked in Germany, where the average day-ahead baseload price in December fell 10% month over month to, and I don't understand that, 35.71 looks like milliwatt. But I know it's not MWH. What is that?
Megawatt hours.
Megawatt. I was going to say milliwatt. On a daily basis, December was a month of extremes for Germany, with day-ahead base price closing on December 10th and 11th less than $60 a megawatt, the highest over-the-counter levels seen all year, only to fall to its lowest level December 24th to half a euro a megawatt, from 60 down to half a euro. That's somebody's doing something right over there. I don't know why we don't do it.
I think it's
here.
amazing that they have the mechanisms in place to apply a discount like that. That's incredible.
Well,
What they don't talk about is the all the people walking around with a headache from all the wind turbines making a low frequency hum, spinning
Now,
so fast.
talk about texting. The New York Times reports that an argument over texting ended in a cell phone user's death when a retired police officer in the audience shot him in a theater near Tampa. The report notes that cinema executive acknowledged during a trade conference last year that they debated whether to accommodate younger viewers by allowing text messages during some movies. I don't understand what's the big deal about texting from a movie except the glare,
screen.
the screen. But I sure hope that policeman got some justice.
He wasn't just a policeman; he was a retired police chief.
Oh, it says retired police officer.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
chief though.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
You know, it's funny going back to the diabetes and checking your blood sugar and stuff like that. My wife, if we go see a movie and it's 2.5 hours long, she's going to have to check her blood sugar sometime during that movie, and more often than not. And the blood sugar machine that she has a light, which makes it a lot easier to see what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been sensitive about, you know, what I would say to somebody who said, excuse me, lady, could you turn off your cell phone, you know? And I would try to be kind and say, it's not a cell phone, it's a blood sugar machine. So,
Does she have a pump?
yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hannah has a pump, but she doesn't check that often. And going back to the Target thing, according to Target chairman, point-of-sale malware was used in the recent attack that compromised millions of credit card and debit card account numbers of customers across the country. And he told CNBC that the malware was used in attacks that compromised the company's point-of-sale registers. According to a report from Reuters, Target and Neiman Marcus may not be alone, as the popular U.S. retailers may have been breached during the busy holiday shopping season. According to sources who spoke to Reuters, attackers used RAM Scrapper of memory parser malware to steal sensitive data from Target and other retail victims. Visa issued alerts about the attacks utilizing this type of malware in April 2013 and again in August 2013. So it was known that such thing is out there.
But is this what operating system is the point of sale?
I don't know. It says memory parser malware targets payment card data being processed in the clear, unencrypted, in a system random access memory. The malware is configured to hook into a payment application binary responsible for processing payment transactions and extract the system memory for full track data. That's how Visa explained it in his security advisor. So that means that you swipe your card, it goes somewhere, and when it's being processed in the memory, in RAM, it's not encrypted anymore. And that malware could go in there and get it in plain text while this was going on. And that's how they did it. And it brought something back. You go on a website and you order something and you put your credit card in there. Some of the richer websites or ones with deep pockets would connect you to would bridge you to the processor that will do the charges right there and then. Others that are just starting, I always tell them, what you do is you sell the item, you get the credit card number and information, and you get it emailed to you, and then you do it offline because it's a lot cheaper. The thing is that in many cases, not in many cases, in all cases, when you send an email, it's unencrypted. It's plain text. So if I have a customer that is in Raleigh, or let's say that they're in California, and there is a customer somewhere else who buys something from that website, of course they connect via SSL, so it's secured, it's encrypted, and it comes to the website secured. But once the email is being generated and being sent to the vendor, to our customer, it's plain text. It's just another email. So before we started doing it, Ron, my system administrator, said, Amnon, what we need to do here is we need to use PGP and encrypt the email that goes to them. And it works. It works great. Of course, it takes a little bit more effort on the vendor part to receive that message, and when they see it, they have to click on an icon that says decrypted, and they have to put in the passphrase, and it shows it to them. But we turned away customers that did not want to go through that. And it was amazing. It doesn't matter how much you explain to them that if they do it that way and don't encrypt it on the way to them, they are putting the customer in jeopardy and themselves, because once, here's Target. I'm sure a lot of people now are apprehensive about going and giving Target a credit card. Not everybody, but I'm sure a lot of people do. And if they hear that this website caused my credit card to be compromised, you're standing to lose a lot of business.
Well, and they apologized.
The what?
They apologized.
Yeah,
they
well,
apologized.
yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, that's very important, and I've always been thankful to Ron for bringing that up, and because this is done behind the scenes. The customer or the vendor does not know that this is happening, and the vendor cares that they get it, and the customer that bought something knows that they saw the little lock, and they know it was encrypted. They don't understand that after the fact, it's not encrypted. It may not be encrypted, let's put it this way. So this is the same thing here. They went directly to the processor, to the point of sale, and scrubbed the memory, and right there it's in plain text. Big problem. And it's going to take a lot of stuff, I don't know, I see, not knowing how their system works, I don't understand, can't they run Malwarebytes and some antivirus or whatever? Come on, you got to have an IT department that knows what they're doing. You're a big chain. You know that you are a target.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. You got to do a lot in order to keep everybody safe. But I would venture to say that they didn't care. That they knew that something could happen, but it's, if it happens, it happens. I read somewhere that they now spending $5 million to get trained on web security. So at least they're trying, unless somebody made them do it.
Well, should have done it beforehand, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying this not as good for them. No, it's stupid after the fact, right?
Yeah,
it makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, we all know. We won't talk about it on the air. But we all know that certain companies do stupid things whenever no one's looking.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
They get caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and I'm sorry, we apologize for any inconvenience this security breach may have caused.
I saw another article that was talking about how Visa is looking into it, and some organization was saying that Target has not followed what the now I forgot the name of that. Yeah, I in the business I accept credit cards, not for many people, but I do, and those that want to. And every year I have to pass some kind of a test.
Qualification, security test.
Yeah. And it's a huge...
It's a pain.
It's a lot of pain. And I'm saying, guys, look, why all these questions? I mean, they are the same from year to year. The answers. Check if you, and they want to check your network to see that you're not vulnerable, and they do that. I said, check it every day if you want to. Check it every month if you want, but leave me out of this, because it takes about 2-3 hours to fill up this questionnaire. And really what you do is, some of those questions are stupid to the point that you don't know what to put there, and you call for help, and they say, and they bring the one from last year, and they say, just put that there. That's what you said last year. And I'm saying, gosh, what good is this for? I still don't understand what I'm answering, and they're just telling me to put something. So obviously, it's I don't know. It's not. It doesn't make you feel good. But if I have to go through this, why don't they have to go through this and follow up?
Because you're not worthy.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Gene had a question in chat, wanted to answer it to the best of our ability. He says he has an HP desktop that does a blue screen of death whenever there's a power dip, and all of his other computers don't. Do you have any ideas? Gene, I only have one idea, and you would have to test it by trial and error, and that is that a power supply has what's called a hold-up time. There's a 5-volt supply. There's also a 12-volt supply in that computer. If that power supply has a dramatically different hold-up time between the 5 or the 12, that could certainly introduce some sort of a logic discontinuity within the system. I've never seen it happen. This may be way out in left field. It may be nonsensical. But the reality is, if I had another power supply I could substitute, then I would at least test a different power supply to see if it is a possibility that the power supply has an internal issue. If it's not, it has to be something on the motherboard, because it's got to be hardware.
Get a Mac.
Definitely.
Mike, I just have to say that when you said logic discontinuity, I got shivers in my spine. It was just...
I'm sorry. Why is that not a real
word? It was wonderful.
Oh.
It was powerful.
Yes.
Don't you agree, Spence? That was a great word combo. Logical discontinuity. And it made sense to me what you said.
It doesn't mean anything, though. I just made that up.
It made sense to me. I was impressed with your use of the English language there.
Well, thank you.
And agree with your supposition as well.
And Gene, if you try that, I would love to know if it makes a difference. I've never heard of that, but I can tell you that whenever motherboard, having said that, before you even do that, look on your motherboard to see if you have any bubbled electrolytic capacitors. If they have a dome on the top of them, if they do, that's your problem.
And my biggest blue screen problem is plugging and unplugging a Logitech webcam while the system is running. It'll do it every time.
Having said that, I blew a C910 plugging it in while the computer was powered up, speaking of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful with Logitech webcams.
Yeah. He says as he uses them.
I love them.
Yep.
Well, that could be something in the USB spec too. It could be that it's not the camera itself.
Oh, but it does. It does it on.
If you look at the pins on a USB plug, they're staggered so that they can be plug and play. In other words, it doesn't apply. It connects one side of the power first before it connects. It doesn't connect them both at the same time. So
yeah, I'm aware of that, but there's also a way of putting what would, for lack of a better term, would be considered a soft start. That's done on hot plug chassis.
Yep.
And what it does is it allows the voltage to ramp up. They obviously have not done that because this camera had been used probably an hour. I bought it brand new. I really like the camera. I like the C910 better than the 920. But it blew, and Logitech, it makes me have the original purchase receipt to honor the warranty on it, which I may have, I may probably don't. If I do have it, it's probably faded out from the thermal cash register. But then even if I find it and they replace it, they're going to replace it with a C920.
I still like my Pro 9000, which is the one I use for front facing. It works good.
But it's not available anymore, is it?
No. And then I got the C910 for the over the shoulder.
Yeah. Well, I like the C910. I like it a lot. In fact, what I thought about, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find that receipt, because if I can find it, then I will get the C920 and put it on eBay and get enough money to pay some exorbitant price for another C910 from somebody who has one.
Where did you buy it? Did you buy it at a local big box store?
Sam's Club.
Okay, because I know with Best Buy you can go down there and they can look it up and print you out a receipt.
Yeah, I don't know. Sam's Club may be able to do the same thing. I haven't asked, but I mean, it was $50, and I'm not going to spend the rest of my life trying to make good on it. But I was really disappointing, because when I first, I actually had, in fact, somewhere around here is another C910 that, you guys may not remember, but I used to lose video in the middle of a show, and I would have to reboot and all sorts of things. It turned out to be a bad C910. And when I complained about it, they sent me a new one, no questions asked. I bragged about it on the show. That one is the one that I'm using right now. It works great. Then they sent me a C920 for testing, and I disliked it so much I never did a review on it. But that being said, it's useful in certain environments. But then I bought a new C910 to have as a backup and kept it plugged in at my office computer. Every day I would plug into it, connect up fine. Everything was good. I decided to bring it home because I put in my new i7. I have two i7s here now. I decided that I wanted to have the second C910 on the second i7, because the C920, I could never get the color to balance correctly on it for some reason. The C910 just works. But when I brought it in, plugged it in, the computer wouldn't recognize it. I took it back to the office, plugged it in there, it won't recognize it.
Oh, shoot.
Well,
I noticed.
Go ahead.
I was saying, I noticed I have the 910, and I still that the original 9000 has better color balance than the 910.
Well, anybody who has a 910 who doesn't want it, I'll buy it from you at a reasonable price, $50.
Well, I use it. I'm using it now. I
wasn't talking to you.
Oh.
I have
Stephen Haywood gave me one. I have one to replace the bad one, so he gave me one. He doesn't use it. He uses nice cameras. And I was able to reciprocate to him. He needed some things I made and sent him, so we're good.
A customer that bought a machine about 8-9 years ago came back and couldn't read his hard drive. Turns out it didn't even spin. And he's using it for business. And I said, so can you get it from a backup? He said, don't have a backup. So he had to have that done. Told him about OnTrack. So he went home and called them. And he called last week and kept me up to date what happened. So it's $65 for diagnostics. And they'll tell you if they can or cannot. They told him they could. And it'll be anywhere from $800 to $1,500 to recover everything from the drive. So, he had to.
So how much?
From $800 to $1,500.
Right. Okay. That's actually fairly reasonable for some I've heard.
So he told him to go ahead and do it. And a week later, they sent him an external drive with all his files on it. And he said 99.9% of them were in the same place, same name, same everything. There were a few of them that just had numbers, and he had to open them with different programs to see what they actually were. But he got everything back for $1,000. So you would think that they sent him a terabyte drive, which is probably about $100.
No, a terabyte's $60.
All right. So it's 900 and some dollars. So this is nice that it can be. Of course, now he's doing Carbonite and local backup twice, two different types of backup. And but that's what happens. People when they lose everything and it costs you a bunch of money to replace your absolutely can't afford to lose them files, you become religious about backups.
I have a bad drive. I told you I bought one of these Western Digital Red network address storage drives.
Right.
It's doing some really funky, crazy things. And, you reboot the computer, it does run. Check disk runs on the drive
every time.
Sometimes. Then you do I use this program called Search Everything from voidtools.com.
Mm-hmm.
You bring up the program, and the first 2 or 3 files at the top have blank names in them.
Ooh.
Just some data corruption in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't trust it. Now, the drive is used, and one of the things that I thought about is the drive is used on a Pentium 4 computer that I use as a file server. And what occurred to me is there is a possibility that SATA interface on that drive doesn't like that older computer. But anyway, I got a replacement drive from them. The one that I got doesn't look like the old drive. It appears to be new instead of,
appears to be new versus
reconditioned drive.
I think there's somewhere.
Normally, whenever they send you a replacement drive, it's a used one they've repaired.
You should be able to tell by the number.
It's recertified.
I don't know how it is. Okay.
Yep, it says right on there.
Yeah, you can look at the older and newer drives have a very different look to them. The logo and the little the way they're manufactured, you can see their.
You you sent them the old drive?
Not yet.
I think this is just a rebranding of.
Are you going to?
Green drives.
Yes. Yeah, they sent an advanced replacement drive that I'm going to use to copy the data from the old drive to this one.
Yeah, but I don't know that I would send.
I shall.
A drive back.
Look, if there's anything on there they want, they can have it.
Oh, okay. So it's not.
It's not my main drive or anything. It's just a storage drive.
Well,
the reviews on these, I'm just looking at the reviews on the 3 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 1 terabyte. They're all consistently good.
On the red drive?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I bought it, because they were good. But I'm sorry. I've had one red drive, it failed. I've had one green drive, it failed.
What about the yellow?
Not there yet.
What do you mean we're not there yet?
Who's got a yellow drive?
I do.
So how do you like it?
Wait a second. I mean, when I'm saying yellow, it's the Enterprise.
Oh, I don't use Enterprise drives. I've never even heard of them.
I use the mauve drive myself.
Just as scary to think about how vulnerable we are to hard drive crashes.
Yep.
Speaking of yellow, I was driving with my 13-year-old granddaughter, and she has a yellow case on her iPhone, and then she had something else yellow. She says, "Papi, I think yellow might be my color." I said, "Well, cool. Have you ever heard the song Mellow Yellow?" And she said, "No." So I reached down there and did a Google voice search from my Note 2, which was on the dashboard. And I said, "Mellow Yellow," and then I played for her the Donovan song as we drove down the road.
Don't play it, Mike.
I'm not.
Watch it now.
Yeah.
Don't want to get mad about Chevron.
Saffron.
Isn't Mellow Yellow a drug song?
All of his songs are drug songs. So, did you go down and get your LED lights, Mike?
No.
Did you get any incandescent ones?
I take that back. We're talking about two different. I was thinking about something else. To answer your question, yes, I did go get my LED bulbs from Home Depot, the Cree 60-watt LED bulb replacement.
Right. But you didn't get any incandescent ones.
I bought those before the end of the year, yes.
A new
still
budget,
available.
a new budget deal reached today by the U.S. Congress walks back the energy efficiency standards that would have forced the phase out of incandescent bulbs. These ideas were first enacted during the Bush administration via the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007. Incandescent bulbs were unable to meet the standards, so they would eventually be forced off the market in favor of LEDs and CFLs. But Republicans have since soured on the bill. Soured? Yeah. Viewing it as an intrusion on the market and attempting to identify it with President Obama. Recent Congress have tried many times to repeal the standards, but these have all been blocked. However, U.S. budgets are often used as a vehicle to get policies enacted that couldn't pass otherwise, since having an actual budget is considered too valuable to hold up over relatively minor disputes. The repeal of these standards got attached to the budget and will be passed into law with it. And now, whoever said that instead of making it a law, if they're so much better, then people are going to stop buying incandescent and buy CFLs and LEDs. Let the market decide.
I actually read something in the last couple of days that said that there is a new war on CFLs because they're just not panning out with all of the hoopla that surround them.
Well, when you compare them to LEDs, absolutely.
That they don't have the life. They have toxic chemicals in them. That there's just not much there, and
No.
I agree with that.
They don't have. Don't have
the
life.
LED bulbs that I bought from Home Depot, the 60-watt, like them a lot.
How much?
They were $13 a bulb.
Yeah. Well, it'll go down.
Well, it will, but that wasn't the question. The question was whether it was acceptable substitute light for daily, everyday lighting. The CFLs to me are not. I don't like the color of them. I don't like the way they get hot on the base and destroy themselves. There's a lot I don't like about CFLs. LEDs, I don't have those objections. I mean, there's no question LEDs are where it's going, and people who object to the switch from incandescent to CFLs, in my opinion, will not have that same objection when they switch to LEDs, at least maybe in a couple of years, whenever for example, when you can get a reasonably priced 100-watt LED bulb, which would probably be 18 watts, 17 watts, something like that. Mm-hmm. When they get there, and you can do that, I mean, you'll be able to put a 150-watt equivalent bulb in a lamp made for 60 watts because it doesn't generate the heat of an incandescent 150-watt bulb. I mean, you think about how many people who have these dim bulbs, 60-watt, 75-watt bulbs in lamps because the lamp is not rated for a higher wattage bulb.
We're just going to have to wait and see how things progress. I had a CFL that I bought, must have been 93, 94. That I had on my desk, but it finally died a year or two ago. It was American.
I hate CFLs.
It was American made. It wasn't.
Now.
But do any of the other ones that I have in the last 10 years lasted? No, they last maybe a year or two, and they're gone.
No, I was able to pick up a whole bunch of bulbs at BJ's they had a rebate where it was $1 package.
Right.
I was getting 8 bulbs for $1.
Well, incandescent.
No, they were
CFLs.
CFLs. I
Yeah.
stocked up on them.
Yeah.
Well, they know what they're worth.
Yeah, they still.
But yeah, I mean that in that case,
It was.
I replaced some, but most of the bulbs in my house are CFLs.
It was actually subsidized by CP&L,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Well, I understand transitional technologies. I understand having alternative. I like the idea of not wasting energy. I mean, we've talked about it. Go back before. There was an episode of Star Trek where I was not a Star Trek fan, but it was on one day, and Spock and Shatner go back in time to the 50s or 60s or whenever it was. It was the current time that when the show was on. They're walking down a hallway, and I recall there being this lighting sconce on the wall in the hallway that has obviously an incandescent bulb in it. And Spock holds his hand up to the bulb and says, "Oh, I see that they haven't learned how to make light without making heat." This was way, way, way back. And I understand that, and I agree with that. I mean, what we want is light, not heat.
Yeah.
If we are learning ways, and we are, to make light without making heat, I'm all for it. But don't give me a piece of garbage that I can't, that it distracts me and blinds me because I'm sitting there trying to read, and it feels like, I mean, it was the same argument against fluorescent lighting, and fluorescent lighting evolved over time to where the color temperature became satisfactory to people in an office environment. In fact, in most environments, probably is even preferable. But just CFLs, in my opinion, just never got there. Brent says to always buy a good quality bulb such as GE or Philips. I've purchased both of those. I still don't like CFLs. I don't know what it is. If you want to do some double-blind testing to see if it's in my head, I'm willing to do that. I don't think it is.
No, it's not.
But I will tell you that this LED bulb, my wife, who is super critical of these things, she hates CFLs worse than I do. But we got this LED bulb, and I put it in a lamp without her knowing about it. She turned on the lamp. She never said anything about it. I said, "What do you think of that light bulb?" She said, "What do you mean, what do I think of that light bulb?" I said, "It's an LED." "Oh, okay." It passes the test. I mean, that's the acid test. The interesting thing about an LED, hopefully it will last as long as they say it will last. It's Cree. It should be a quality product, particularly at that cost. But the other thing about it that's interesting that most people would never notice is it turns on instantly. Mm-hmm. I mean, you hit that button, and because an incandescent does not turn on instantly. You apply power to it, it has to heat up, generate light. LED just turns on.
That's why I have them on my front porch, because I had CFLs, tried CFLs. It never worked well.
It's like
outside, especially when it's cold, and you have to buy a special timer that will work with a CFL because there's such low current that electronic switches don't work well. So I replaced the timer with a mechanical timer, but I have LED bulbs on my front porch now, and they come on instantly, even when it's 20 degrees.
What kind did you get?
I don't know. They were something I got at Walmart. They were like $6 a bulb. They were 40-watt replacements.
Yeah, I don't like 40 watts.
It's like
but it's more than enough for my porch to light it up at night.
When you're driving behind a car that has LED lights on the brakes and all that, it's still kind of hard to get used to the fact that it comes on bang, or if they have the blinker, and it's not like you see it. Let's see who called in.
I think it's designed to be obnoxious.
Caller. Somebody just called.
Hello.
In. Hello.
Hello, it's Eiffel.
Oh, hello.
Hello, I was just calling in for the first time. You know, I'm always in chat. I never call in.
And for some reason, I thought Eiffel was a guy.
Well, Eiffel is a girl. It's me.
Hello.
But I just wanted to call in and wish you all a happy New Year, because I've been listening to your call for a long time, and I'm a good listener.
Thank you.
And I'm not a spy.
No, we know you're nice.
I'm just an ordinary person that just loves listening to people talk on the phone, and I'm not a person that talks much on the phone. That's why I never speak. But I just love all internet connection. of people who speak and share information, that's good enough for me.
You're good.
So thank you and kudos to you all.
No,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
calling in.
You have a good
Let's see-
group
let's see if-
here.
Let's see if somebody
Very
wants
good.
to. Let's see if somebody wants to say something to you.
Well, I
For
was just
me?
thanking her for calling. Yeah.
What'd
Oh,
you s-
hi, Bruce. I see you. I see you on TV. You're not on TV, but I see you on my computer. And the reason I always check out is because my computer is outdated. So after a while, my computer just shuts down because it just heats up too much. You know, I have an old computer. I'm a novice, but you know, there are places I go to on internet that I enjoy, where you know.
My sister-in-law had
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, my sister-in-law had a laptop. She's from Clearwater, Florida, and she was up here visiting us in Virginia a few months ago, and she was complaining about her laptop getting hot and shutting down. And whenever she comes up here,
Maybe it's old like mine.
I said, "Let me have your laptop for a while." I went through, cleaned it all out. Man, she had like 3 gigabytes of temporary internet cache and temporary files and stuff like that, and you know, did some other stuff to it and handed it back to her. She said it's been running fine since. So.
Oh, I wish I had somebody like you, Bruce, in Paris with me right now. That would help me out with my computer.
Well, I mean, you can for starters, you can go and download CCleaner. Is it a PC?
It's a Mac.
Oh, it's a Mac. I wouldn't know what to do with that.
I'm not computer literate at all. And, you know, I don't even use a phone. That's why internet is pretty fascinating for me, because I can listen to people and I don't have to talk.
Yeah.
And when you want to shut somebody off, you just turn it off, right?
Oh, no, they shut me off before I shut anybody off.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, great job. It's you people are great.
Thank you.
And I just want to wish you all best wishes for the new year.
Same to you.
Oh, thank you, Amnan.
Take care.
Merci, Amnan. Okay, I'm off now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Nice.
Well,
This
that was
is
really nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really thought that Eiffel was a guy. I don't know why, but it's. Okay, we're coming almost on the end of the show, but there's one more. Oh, where's Mike? Oh, never mind. I'm going to go. An Irish politician has called for tougher controls. Hey, Nick, you still here?
I am.
Yeah. Tougher controls on the use of open source internet browsers. He said that an online black market is operating which protects the user's anonymity and operates across borders through the use of open source internet browsers and payment systems which allow users to remain anonymous. This effectively operates as an online supermarket for illegal goods such as drugs, weapons, and pornography, where it is extremely difficult to trace the identity of the buyers. We need a national and international response to clamp down on this illicit trade. The politician added that the U.S. has taken action to address this, but he seemed surprised that their solution was only temporary. What solution did the U.S. come up that is temporary to eliminate anonymous browsing? I never heard of such. Anybody knows?
Never heard of it.
No, I haven't heard of anything.
Yeah. So Ireland. I mean, it makes sense, but hey, this is the way things work. You know, you try to be anonymous. Nobody wants to be traced and tracked and all that. So the criminals also get a benefit of this. All right.
One other thing I was going to address,
Yeah.
Demzel in chat says that his Cree 60-watt bulbs base get as hot as the CFL bulbs. And I just went and touched mine, and I agree that the base gets really hot. It's too hot to touch.
The base?
The base is.
So what happens now if you... Oh, but it doesn't matter if you have it upside down or right side
Don't know that. That remains to be seen. I don't know how long these bulbs of this particular design has been out there. That's what one of the things we will be watching and learning.
Right, that's what I was saying. Time will tell. But what is it made of?
I don't know.
I mean, is it plastic or is it metal?
It's either. It could be plastic. It could be some sophisticated plastic. It could be phenolic. I don't know.
So it may discolor also.
Yeah, well, the discoloration is not what bothers me. What bothers me is the inability of the circuitry to handle the heat.
Well, I mean, if it all depends.
Time will tell.
You don't know yet. Yeah.
But it's really surprising that you're sitting there with this. Of course, it doesn't take a lot of power to generate a higher temperature in a little localized area like that. I don't know what the numbers are, but it was very surprising to me that touching the base was that hot just now.
I mean, you have to take 110 and transform it down to probably, I don't know, 5?
9. It's 10 watts. 9.5.
No,
10
volts.
Oh, well, no. It's LEDs are current based. We won't get into all that.
So I think this is where the heat.
It's a transformer.
Comes in.
No.
What I would
Switching power supplies don't work that way. They operate on. It's way too complicated. But that's not. You're thinking a linear power supply, for example, on in the old days on a cassette recorder, you'd take 110, turn and cut it down to 6 volts, and you have a transformer inside a little wall wart. Well, that's old technology. They don't do that anymore. That's called a linear power supply.
I would like to see whatever volts required to operate the LED lights. And if I was building a new house, I would put the 110 outlets for light bulbs and switches and all that, but I would also run a second system for lower voltage.
Low voltage.
And then you can if you have a light that needs 12 volts and you supply 12 volts, then there's a lot less loss.
You would reach an
immediate
standardize, point of diminishing return.
You have to standardize on a specific bulb and technology.
Ain't going to happen. You'll have trouble finding bulbs. You'd be out buying marine bulbs.
I mean, did you ever own a travel trailer or a motorhome?
Yeah, they have
dual
systems.
Yep.
There's a 110 and there's a 12.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, but what I'm telling you is that I believe that your concept of this particular problem is a little flawed in that.
Okay, I understand. I don't argue.
What I'm saying is that for example, this could get involved, but the distribution system of 120 volts is perfectly satisfactory. There are ways now of using intelligent converters or inverters to take this 110 volt AC signal and turning it into usable power for the bulb without generating all the heat. That's the way computer power supplies work. If you take the typical 300-400 watt, actually an LED is 2.1, Gary. But if you take the typical 400 watt power supply in a computer, that is a switching power supply. That means it's not operating 24/7. It means it's a switching power supply. Power is being turned off and on at a certain rate, 100 kilohertz, whatever it is, to generate the amount of power that the computer needs. If you were to take a 400 watt linear power supply, it would be as big as the entire computer.
So what is it that in a switched power supply that cuts down on the voltage? Obviously, there's got to be some diodes in there that change it to DC.
No, you're thinking about voltage versus current and power. And what happens is, let's suppose that, I hope I get this right without Brent says most LEDs have a 3.2 voltage draw. I guess they've changed LEDs since I was in school because we used to use them as 2.1 voltage dropping devices in the circuit, even when it didn't have enough voltage to light the LED. Anyway, the constant current supply. What happens is, how to explain this?
Oh, geez, I see what you mean. We're getting into...
it's going to get too... Let's say you got the 110 volt, but you need a certain amount of power to the device. So what happens is that if you think about a battery charger, a regular battery charger, you connect a battery charger in your car to your car, and it generates 12 amps, and the power supply has to be able to provide that much power, and it's a big, bulky, heavy thing and all that. But let's assume that you wanted to create a trickle charger so that you then wanted only to be able to apply a certain amount of current. Then in essence, what that charger would be doing at a really high speed is turning itself off and on. So instead of providing 12 amps, it might provide only 2 amps. But instead of the power supply having to hold off the additional power, it just doesn't develop that power because it's turning off and on only enough to generate 2 amps instead of 12 amps. That's the simplest explanation I could think of.
Yeah,
and
that says voltage regulation is achieved by varying the ratio of on to off time.
Correct.
Yep.
Exactly right. It's a diode. And in this constant, as Brent says, and Brent's in the business, but it says that these bulbs used a constant current power supply, which is, I'm presuming is DC. It could be pulsating DC, but I imagine it's DC. But what happens is this inverter or converter in the base of the bulb takes the 110 AC, rectifies it, filters it, runs it through a switching device that if it only needs 9 watts, it only develops 9 watts plus whatever the efficiency of the converter is. The rest of the heat goes out through the base and makes it too hot to touch.
Yeah. And there are no holes to ventilate it.
Well, you wouldn't want a hole in a 110-volt circuit. It's 110 volts in there somewhere.
Right.
But it's still, I wonder how much of the actual rating of the bulb is taking into account the wasted heat. It's got to be some of it. So,
what about that, Brent? That's actually a very good question. In that, whenever a bulb is rated for 9.5 watts, does that mean that if you put a power meter on that bulb, that the total power consumed by that bulb is 9.5 watts? Or does that mean
startup current?
Well, startup really doesn't count. I mean, particularly on LED, it's very quick.
It's not as bad as a motor.
I heard somebody they were talking about power savings with startup current, and someone said that, yeah, startup current's definitely higher, run your power bill up, but once you run it for 7 seconds, you've compensated for it.
Yeah, usually the rating on a device will be for the maximum current.
Right, that's the peak power, because if the system can't provide the peak power necessary to start the motor won't start, even though it doesn't need all that power to sustain it.
Yeah, we used to, back in the working on computer days, the system was rated for, motors were rated for inrush current, which was when you start the motor spinning, you basically charge up a capacitor and you shoot this big amount of power at the motor to get it spinning up to speed. And then that capacitor would shut off and you go into normal run mode.
Well, it charges and then it...
Yeah, so it used to, some of them were actually centrifugal. They worked by...
Right, switch.
It was a physical switch that would, as soon as the motor was spinning fast enough, it would turn off the capacitor.
All right, let's wind her up.
All right. Nick, did you have to add anything here?
No.
Okay.
Thanks for the snow cam.
Oh, yes, no problem. You can experience snow at your own house.
Stay warm, Nick.
I'll try.
All right. Well, I guess that's about it, huh?
Huh?
Thanks, everybody. And good morning to Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Nissan Communications, one word. Like us on Facebook by clicking the button on the lower left. Follow us on Twitter, whatever. Tomorrow morning at 11, it's Health In with Davey Brooke. And at 1 o'clock, it's Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon. See you, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Brooke, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.